It's Free Talk Live. You may dial toll-free here. Take control of the airwaves at 855-450-FREE. Like freedom. It is the live Sunday edition of the show. And joining you in the studio here tonight, you've got Ian.
Richie Rich.
And Mark.
Of course, you can bring up anything that you want. That is the point here on Free Talk Live. And last night, I did mention a story that we didn't get to. And so I do want to get to that because it is a little bit of good news, actually, coming out of California, because we had the bad news last night that we started the show with out of Beverly Hills, where they have now banned the sale of tobacco and nicotine products to anyone, period, within the city limits, unless you're buying it from a cigar shop. So that was the bad news.
One of Arnold's cigar shops.
Is it really?
I believe it. I've seen something.
I saw that too.
I saw something a little later that it turns out that was one of Arnold Schwarzenegger's.
He's on the OK list. You can buy tobacco products from the governor.
Well, he's politically connected, so it makes sense, right? So the good news, though, as I promised last night, but we never got to, the AP reporting out of San Francisco that Oakland this week became the second U.S. city to decriminalize magic mushrooms, after a string of speakers testified that psychedelics help them overcome depression, drug addiction, and post-traumatic stress disorder.
Well, the testimony is one thing, but there's science to back that up.
And the politicians listen to the testimony for
amazingly. Yeah.
That's surprising.
And I mean, you know, so there's a difference between taking this in a clinical setting and just taking it recreationally. I wouldn't expect to have my depression just handled by, you know, popping some magic mushrooms and go and watch an Avatar at the Dollar Theater. But maybe you just don't know.
I did that once.
Long-term depression, though, I think is one of the benefits of the magic mushrooms, right? It like for PTSD and long-term depression, it reduces it so it's not as harsh, I guess. I don't know.
Again,
I mean, I wouldn't say you wouldn't get any benefit if your intention is to get benefit. Like if you are taking magic mushrooms for the purpose of exploring, you know, whatever it is you've built a wall up around in your mind, or kind of looking inside yourself and overcoming whatever, you know, issues you might have. You know, if that's your intention, you may get something out of it. If your intention is to just, whoa, dude, tripping, you know, then you're probably not going to, you know, get anything out of it like that.
Yeah, I think so. I think in a clinical setting, you're liable to see more because you're dealing with the people who have done this more often, the experience, the lack of mistakes, you know, those kind of things.
The clinical benefit of whoa, dude, still would exist, though. Like you'd still have lower chances of depression going forward because it's still chemically in your system. Maybe. Even though you're not looking for it, just...
I don't know. I mean, has that been studied, though? I mean, normally when they study it, it is in some sort of a therapeutic environment, right, where they're talking with a therapist. There's, you know, some programs surrounding it, not just, here's some mushrooms, go have fun in the woods.
Sure. Know? And I guess the only thing that I would say, I haven't read the study.
There have been more than one, from what I understand.
But I don't think whether you're doing it in a psychiatrist chair or in the woods changes the chemical change in your brain.
I would say that I agree in so much as I think there's a better chance you'll see the benefit than, say, you know, a
drinking.
Well, you know, just some person out smashing up oxycodone in order to snorting it up their nose for pain management. You know, so you know.
Yeah.
Right. Well, I mean, if you are trying to drown your sorrows with alcohol, of course, we know that that's a depressant, and it is likely not going to cause you any kind of long-term benefit.
Alcohol has medicinal value. However, the the road to using it as a treatment is littered with bodies.
Oakland apparently did actually decriminalize magic mushrooms. However, the city council voted unanimously.
Even more surprising.
To decriminalize adult use and possession of magic mushrooms and other entheogenic or psychoactive plants and fungi. Denver voters in May approved a similar measure for people 21 and older. Speakers overwhelmingly supported the move, describing substances such as ayahuasca and peyote as traditional plant-based medicine. So this is bigger than just mushrooms. This is a big deal, actually. Use of plants, or these plants, quote, saved my life, said one man who described himself as a former heroin addict. He says, I don't know how to describe it other than miraculous. Some offered mystical descriptions of the hallucinogens as providing spiritual healing. The vote makes the investigation and arrest of adults who grow, possess, use, or distribute entheogenic plants one of the lowest priorities for police. So it's not completely legal. The headline here is completely wrong. It says Oakland becomes second U.S. city to legalize magic mushrooms. That's not what happened.
Right. So when they move it to the lowest priority for police, if you were to open up a story that says, Ian's Magic Mushroom Emporium, and
trademark,
with peyote and ayahuasca or whatever, up underneath that is the byline, the cops suddenly will raise it as a priority to handle that.
Or they're calling the DEA.
Yeah, the feds took care of that even when the first weed shops were legal.
Yeah. So you still would want to do this sort of below the radar, obviously, but it is a very welcome move in the right direction, and nice to see that it's the second city to do this with mushrooms, but also the first city, because I don't think Denver had anything but mushrooms on their ballot measure. This is any plant-based entheogen, which there's a few of them out there. So very, very impressive, and according to the story here, no city funds can be used to enforce laws criminalizing the substances, meaning that not only is it the lowest priority, but they also can't allocate any kind of money towards, doing a sting operation or whatever it would be that they would need to do to make an arrest on somebody with this.
This is the slippery slope that the prohibitionists were talking about.
What do you mean?
First, marijuana gets decriminalized.
Yep, that's what they said.
Then mushrooms get decriminalized, and then what's next? Meth addicts shooting needles on the street.
I don't know. Can you shoot a needle of meth? You probably can, but
that's the idea.
Okay.
But we've never denied that here, by the way. We've always advocated for the end of the war on drugs entirely. And if somebody called in to say, well, but then they're just going to legalize blah, blah, blah. Well, please, let's do that. Let's do it sooner rather than later so we can stop people from killing themselves. Because not only is this guy's testimony correct, that these kinds of plants, these drugs that are based out of these natural plants, can absolutely help people get off of some of the worst drugs imaginable, including alcohol, including heroin and other opiates. The stories that not only can you see if you look briefly in an internet search and look at the studies that we talked about briefly earlier, the PTSD and depression and things like that, but I've known people personally who've done this.
And even if it didn't, it still should be legal.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Which is why heroin should be legal because, first of all, there are medical uses for heroin, number one. But number two, the fact that things are made illegal, of course, drives them underground, puts them into the hands of criminals, and makes them more dangerous. So if you actually care, see, the thing with the drug prohibitionists is if they purport to care, right? Isn't that the reason why they're against drugs, supposedly, is because they want to help people, right? If you actually do care about people, then you should want to legalize drugs so you can reduce the harm done by drug addiction. You can reduce the harm done by the black market drugs themselves. Let's go to Jim. He's in Virginia Beach. By the way, our toll-free number, if you want to join us here, 855-450-FREE. Jim, you're on Free Talk Live listening to WNIS.
All right. Well, a couple things. The first, if you're talking about staying on the down low, what kind of inventory would you need to consider it an emporium? Like, that sounds like a very large store.
Whatever fits in a paper grocery shopping bag.
Curious.
So Ian and I are from Sarasota, Florida, which is from the same town. We grew up in the same town. And on Main Street in Sarasota, Florida, for many, many years was, I don't know what else to call it, but a head shop. The kind of place that sold these black velvet posters in fluorescent lights that had incense burning things. Can Ian help me out?
Are they
here?
Gone now?
Water pipes
they
on the wall.
They moved to a different location, and I don't know if they're still open.
It's got to be one of the longest running head shops. It's been around for a long time.
And those kind of places. And it was called The Emporium. And that's why I chose to use the term Emporium. It was an inside joke aimed at Ian.
Jim, I want you to stand by here. Hang on. We're going to bring you back. We'll let you continue with the subject or whatever you want to bring up. You can also take control of the airwaves here on Free Talk Live. 855-450-FREE like freedom. Your thoughts on legal... This is Free Talk Live. You can bring up whatever you want here. We are discussing the, not legalization, as the inaccurate headline proclaims by the Associated Press. You would think they would know better, but apparently no. In the article, they point out it's decriminalization, so I guess the author doesn't always write the headlines of these
semantics.
It's an important distinction because legalization suggests that you've taken the thing completely out of the realm of the criminal as far as possession and or sales is concerned. Decriminalization, it's still technically criminal, but it's not as criminal as it once was, and that's what's happened with not just magic mushrooms or psilocybin in
legalization
Oakland.
Means you can open a shop, basically.
Generally, you'll have to beg permission from the government for some sort of a permission slip.
Someone can open a shop.
Correct.
Usually.
And if you have the permission slip, then you presumably will not get raided by that same government gang.
Not that same entity, no.
But
right.
the feds.
They might. Right. The feds may not care about your permission slip in that case. But in this case, it's Oakland and the city council voting unanimously to not only decriminalize and make the lowest police priority the possession and, or I guess just the possession and even growing. So you can grow mushrooms in Oakland, and it is the lowest police priority. They cannot use city funds to enforce laws criminalizing substances, including not just mushrooms, hallucinogenic mushrooms, but also any other entheogenic plants, such as, say, ayahuasca, which is a tea that you can make from I don't know. There's different plants that have DMT in it, basically. You'd have to look it up, which plants are the best for it. But
Central American tribes will use it for all kinds of religious ceremonies.
That's correct. And
South America. Yeah.
So if you want to learn more, by the way, about drugs, then I recommend going to erowid.org.
Do they still exist? Those
Oh, yeah. Okay. Oh, yeah. EROWID.org. Still exists, still great, still up to date.
All right.
All kinds of really useful information there. There's no reason to be ignorant about drugs in the 21st century. There's plenty of information and good information on the internet about it.
Right.
But by the way, I do want to recommend to you that you check out Freedom Fest. It's coming up in July 17th through the 20th.
Soon.
And that's going to be in Las Vegas, where some other interesting things are legal. You can go to freedomfest.com/FTL and use coupon code FTL50, FTL50, to get a discount on your tickets to what is this year going to be entitled The Wild West, Liberty and Opportunity, or Lawlessness and Violence. You'll get to see some great speakers, including Penn Jillette, Lenore Skenazy, Candace Owens, John Mackey, Kevin O'Leary, Kevin Harrington, Stephen Moore, Grover Norquist, and others. freedomfest.com/FTL. Code FTL50 gets you the discount. Plus, when you go to freedomfest.com/FTL, you can sample what it was like at last year's Freedom Fest by watching the 5 best speeches from last year, including Judge Napolitano, Alan Dershowitz, Charlie Kirk, Heather McDonald, and John Mackey. So, once again, it's freedomfest.com/FTL. Let's go back to the phones. And
I'll be there, too, in costume.
Oh, yeah, we're broadcasting. I didn't make that clear. We are broadcasting from the event, you and I, Mark. So, let's go to Jim. He's in Virginia Beach. And listening to WNIS. Go ahead, Jim.
Okay, and we were kind of saying how it can help with things like depression. And I was always taught by my grandmother, you see somebody, just give them a smile, even if it's a fake one. You'll release endorphins and dopamine, and it just makes you feel better. So in its simplest form, I would think a 4 to 5 hour smile stuck on your face would have to make you feel fantastic for days.
Well, I will say this, just to be clear. I don't want to make it. Hold on. I don't want to make it sound like every mushroom trip is going to be a happy-go-lucky time. One of the most terrifying trips I've ever had. I was on mushrooms at the Hemp Fest a few years ago.
Oh, I remember that.
Yeah.
When I found you sitting in the rain and had to drag you into the hotel room.
Oh, it was raining at that time?
Yeah, it was delightful.
Yeah, so that was pretty crazy. So you got to be, you got to take these things pretty seriously and make sure you're in a place where, you're feeling comfortable, where you're around people that you're comfortable with. Preferably somebody who can be what they call a trip sitter, especially if it's your first time. And a nice thing about, having legal products, which, again, we're not to legalization yet, but the nice thing about legalization is doses can be measured in a legal marketplace. With mushroom caps, if you take 1 or 2 mushroom caps one day and then take 1 or 2, the same amount of mushroom caps another time, it may be a completely different experience because there's no way to know how much psilocybin each one of those caps has in it. You're just buying these things on the black market and popping them in your mouth. So you have no idea.
I would agree with that.
Yeah.
And if there's just a few left and you're not sure how to store them, so you might just think maybe if I just ingest them, I won't have to worry about saving them, and that can cause problems as well.
So you sound like you've had a little bit of experience with this.
Well, I don't know if you remember the gentleman that used to say time to make the donuts for the Dunkin' Donuts.
I do.
John Lovitz, right? Was it?
Somehow he ended up in my bedroom after a visit to Dunkin' Donuts.
What?
And he came home with us when we went to Dunkin' Donuts, and being in the house caused several problems because several people said his face kept turning into a bulldog and then the devil. So trip sitters are, helpful.
Hold on,
and
just to be clear,
again,
did you actually have John Lovitz?
No.
Well, I just want to find out if you met him.
Cutout
Huh?
of the gentleman. He was a display in the Dunkin' Donuts.
So wait,
And he said,
your friends
"Time to
actually
make
the display home with them from Dunkin' Donuts?
Yes.
Nice.
And it actually had a motor, and on the back it said croissants, macaroons, donuts, biscuits, and it looked like he was throwing them into a box and it spun around.
Wow.
That's even better than I thought.
mean, I'm not encouraging that behavior, but sometimes just things happen.
It just happened.
Singularity posts a picture of the guy. This doesn't look like John Lovitz.
Maybe he just played the character on Saturday Night
He
Live.
kind of looks like Danny DeVito to me.
Okay.
Yeah, it looked kind of an Italian guy look with a mustache and all that.
Like the hardworking kind of guy that built America in the 20th century. That's what he looks like.
There you go.
Yeah, time to make the donuts. And
Jim, thanks for the call.
through the place.
Thanks for the story. I appreciate hearing from you. That's Jim there in Virginia Beach. You can dial in toll free as well and join us here, whether you want to
Also,
tell your trip
trippers-
story or whatever.
Trippers don't. Here's a true story. Trippers don't just enlist your friends as a trip sitter when they weren't advised of
Right.
it. Because that's a jerk move, isn't it, Ian?
For sure.
For sure.
You knew
is.
I was tripping, though. The toll-free number here is 855-450-FREE.
Didn't know I'd have to deal with it.
That's 855-450-3733.
I'm an adult. I put my time in. I don't have to deal with this crap anymore.
Yeah.
Oh, but you have a son, though. Time will roll back around for you on that one.
Yeah, no doubt. So they are not going
He's
to be...
not going to get to hang out with his Uncle Ian, I can tell you that.
Council member Noel Gallo, who introduced the resolution, had said decriminalizing those plants would enable Oakland police to focus on serious crime. And he is absolutely right. The less time the police spend focusing on marijuana users and mushroom users...
There's probably some crime going on in Oakland. I think the police could take care of that.
Yeah, there's definitely some crime going on in Oakland. So if you want to comment, you're welcome to join us. I hope this news also encourages other, let's say, state legislatures, looking at you, New Hampshire, to introduce some changes. In fact, I actually have a related story that I happened to come across today about none other than AOC, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. Yeah, she's a socialist, but every now and then, she's right on something.
It happens.
And we'll tell you about it coming up here in moments. If you want to join us, you can. 855-450-FREE, the live Sunday edition of Free Talk Live.
You love Bitcoin. It's the future, right? Well, no, not if everyone stops using it. I mean, think about it. How many places in your town take Bitcoin? One? None? Let's be real. If this Bitcoin thing is ever going to happen, it's going to need your help. The good news is, the guys at AnyPay have your back. We built a website called helpmetakebitcoin.com. And it's a place you can send any business. And they'll be set up to take Bitcoin in 5 minutes. HelpMeTakeBitcoin.com.
This is Free Talk Live. You can dial in toll-free. You can bring up whatever you want. Our number here is 855-450-FREE, like freedom. That's 855-450-3733. Also, we have the Discord on-air call-in line rooms. Go to discord.lrn.fm, and you can jump into one of those rooms there. We'll get you on the air, and you'll sound like you're here with us in the studio. It's Ian, Richie, and...
Richie Rich.
And Mark.
I was going to do it, but that's fine, too. Go ahead, Mark. Tell me about My Magic Mud.
I love My Magic Mud. My Magic Mud is a black tooth powder. It's made from charcoalized coconut husks and bentonite clay. I know it sounds crazy, but I've been using this for years. I'm very familiar with what this product does, and I will not live without it. If I run, I who do not do the shopping in my own home, make sure that I never run out of My Magic Mud because I use this product so regularly because it works for me. Not only does it remove the stains from your teeth, so, I drink a lot of coffee, I need to keep the stains off the teeth. Secondarily, it also cleans my teeth like nothing else that's out there. Go check out My Magic Mud. Read a little bit about it. Go to mymagicmud.com, and I think you'll be as convinced as I am relatively quickly. Everything they say is true. It's a great family-owned product. It's made by a gal down in Texas, and Jessica Armand, and she made it for her family. And that's how I found out about it, was from Jessica. And now you can get it at most major health food stores, Sprouts, CVS, natural grocers, and in Walmart in the natural beauty aisle. Some Walmarts don't have a natural beauty aisle, in which case you can't get it at that aisle. But you can go to mymagicmud.com. Everybody can do this and save 20% off of this great product that I recommend. If you listen to one thing I say ever, listen to this. mymagicmud.com. Coupon code FTL. Go get it now. My Magic Mud. Coupon code FTL20. I said FTL before. FTL20 to get 20% off.
Indeed. So again, the toll-free number, if you want to join us here, 855-450-FREE. We continue talking about the good news out of California, specifically Oakland, where the city council has voted unanimously to decriminalize magic mushrooms. And I thought it would be important or useful to bring up the good old David Nutt chart. Professor David Nutt, which is a wonderful name for somebody advocating for drug decriminalization. He actually used to work for the drug prohibitionists in the government in the UK, and former government chief drugs advisor. He ended up then coming out in favor of ending the war on drugs and released what I would say is a very important chart looking at 16 criteria, including a drug's effects on users' physical and mental health, social harms, including crime, family adversities, environmental damage, economic costs, and international damage, looking at the damage, basically, or the harm to both others and the harm to the user themselves of the world's most popular and some of the least known drugs. A bunch of them, like probably, I don't know, almost 24 drugs on this chart here. Alcohol and heroin, numbers 1 and 2 on the chart.
So do they have them broken out by harm to society?
They do.
And harm to yourself?
Correct. So the way the chart is structured, and I'll put a link to it on our social media.
How can I harm society the least while harming myself the most? Drink bleach?
It's on the chart.
Actually, I think methamphetamine might be the one in that case, because that's the one with the lowest harm to others score, and the harm to user scores is the highest by comparison.
Interesting. I wonder how they rate all that.
Well, you'd have to look at the study to learn more about it. But interestingly, the very last one on the charts here, after alcohol, heroin, crack, methamphetamine, cocaine, tobacco, amphetamine, etc., mushrooms down all the way at the bottom with very, very small rating.
Mushrooms are not harming society, ladies and gentlemen.
No, in fact, it doesn't
make
even
the
show
argument,
that.
you really have to be a dyed-in-the-wool drug warrior. You have to be getting all of your paycheck from anti-mushroom stuff, from what I can tell, to be against magic mushrooms. Because the people who are doing magic mushrooms are generally not doing anything to harm society. They may be, maybe they could work a little harder or whatever if you're going with the stereotype, but I don't see it.
The most surprising inclusion on the list is cannabis, which is actually at number 8 as one of the more harmful drugs, allegedly.
Interesting.
Which is very interesting. Now, of course, you are ingesting smoke in most cases when using cannabis, but I don't know if they took into account the ingesting by eating it.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure how they calculate.
They certainly didn't break the numbers out.
But with cannabis being legalized in 10 states now, I think, in the United States, there's certainly been no serious damage to society. If anything, we're better off because we don't have the police running around arresting young people, arresting anybody, period, in those states for possession of relatively small amounts of cannabis. So I just wanted to share that as we continue discussing the legalization or decriminalization of psychedelic mushrooms. And the related story that I wanted to share on this is actually getting published in a few different places today. I have the Forbes version of it here about Representative Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. Some people like to call her AOC. She has filed legislation as of Friday to remove a legal barrier that scientists say makes it unnecessarily difficult for them to study the medical benefits of psychedelic drugs like psilocybin and MDMA. Which, by the way, MDMA is not a psychedelic drug. But, it's Forbes. It's the mainstream media. What can you do? Psilocybin, the active component of so-called magic mushrooms. Okay, and the way it's written is strange. And MDMA, which psilocybin is not an active component of MDMA, just to be clear, but the way it's written could be confusing. Psilocybin, the active component of so-called magic mushrooms, and MDMA, commonly referred to as ecstasy, have, quote, shown promise in end-of-life therapy and treating PTSD.
Nice.
Unquote. And that's according to Ocasio-Cortez's proposal.
Yeah, I mean, real promise in treating PTSD. And when it comes to end of life, why do you care? If the person's laying in their bed suffering or laying in their bed tripping, why do you care?
I think there was a Donald Trump article that said he was going to make it easier for, not necessarily end of life, but experimental therapies. For
Really?
people.
The last chance kind of therapies.
Yeah.
I can't remember what it's called. They have some special term for it.
Well, maybe
It's
he
clever.
can team up with AOC on this one. They can both get something right for once.
Well, if she stops calling for his impeachment, I'm sure he will. But he's
Maybe
not.
they just need to do some shrooms together. And
There
then,
you go.
God, please. Nancy Pelosi, Donald Trump in a room together with some shrooms. I will pay for it.
Down in Mexico with some ayahuasca.
Did you ever read the article somebody wrote about what it was like to go to a Donald Trump rally in 2016 while tripping? It was pretty scary, apparently.
You can see all the evil in the crowd.
Or on his face or whatever. I can imagine it. All right, so we'll continue with the story on AOC here in moments, but Sarah is on the line in New Mexico. Sarah, have you ever done any mushrooms, psychedelic mushrooms?
No, I eat shiitake mushrooms and mushroom capsules, but I don't trip on it. I don't get high on stuff like
see.
that.
You never have, huh?
No, I'm just not that much into that kind of stuff.
Yeah, it's okay.
No,
It's
I'm
not for everybody.
No,
I was just asking. It's not for everybody.
Yeah,
I haven't
but,
either if it makes you feel better.
You had mentioned that Texas removed all of the red light cameras, or going to.
Yeah, that's right. The state government, the governor has signed a bill in Texas to put an end to red light cameras statewide. There are a couple of cities, I guess, that are under a contract. Those contracts will be allowed to expire. They're not going to terminate them early. But for the most part, red light cameras are going to be prohibited by the state government in Texas, which is wonderful news for people who enjoy driving.
Well, the thing is, that Texas, they can afford to do that because, they're live officers. That's a patrol state. I mean, they love traffic citations because
every state government loves traffic citations.
I think she's saying more of it in Texas.
It's huge money. And aren't there interstates? Mark, you and I have been down there before a few times for the Austin, Texas Bitcoin Conference. If I recall, when we were on the interstate once, it was like 80 miles an hour down there in Texas.
It might as well be. It's just these huge tracts of land.
There's more on the way here. 855.
She has huge tracts of land.
450 free. Thanks, Sarah, for the call tonight. There's more coming up. You can bring up anything you want. It's Free Talk Live. Free Talk Live. Dial in toll free and bring up whatever you want here. Our number is 855-450-FREE. Like freedom, that's 855-450-3733. We have the Discord on-air call-in line rooms at discord.lrn.fm. With you tonight, it's Ian.
Richie Rich.
And Mark.
Yep, and coming up here tonight, we are going to talk about the Millennials and their lack of any skills whatsoever, apparently, when it comes to, I don't know, drilling a hole.
Housework.
A little bit of housework
and house repairs.
So you've got that story, Richie. And then also, Mark, you had a story about government seizing children falsely. We'll get into that. But first, more on the good news, because it's nice to have some good news every now and then about things happening in the world, specifically in the United States in this case, and surprisingly in the federal government at least, or it's a proposal by Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. And yes, she's a socialist. And no, on Free Talk Live, we don't like socialism at all. Okay, just to be clear,
I'm not sure what socialism means anymore. The problem
state ownership of the means of production.
That's what
right?
it means. I'm not sure that Bernie or AOC are in fact socialists.
Well, they
by
use the
that
word.
Standard. What's that?
They certainly aren't afraid of the word.
Right, and that's the problem. Is that this is the Mott and Bailey argument. So people will say out there, will say when you rail against socialism, they'll say, well, socialism works in Denmark and Sweden and whatever. Then you say, well, that's not socialism. That's capitalism with a strong social welfare safety net. Well, then I'm not talking about socialism. Well, you use the term socialism. Democratic socialism. Well, what is that then?
It's we all agree to socialism.
Right. Well, that's what
51% of us
Democratic
agree.
Socialism, if you look at it from an etymological standpoint, means that a majority of people agree to socialism, which is, as I would understand it, state ownership of the means of production. And, well, obviously, you can get usually 51% of people to vote to steal 49% of people's stuff. That's not a political trick. That's just statism. That's just how it's done.
I've got into a discussion with a left libertarian here in town who said the means of production is an antiquated term and shouldn't be used in this discussion either.
Fine. Let's not use the means of production as a term either.
So what exactly is it then? How do you define terms when nobody wants to use the terms that have been used?
As long as we understand that the state is an organization that claims for itself a monopoly privilege on the use of violence in a given landmass, that's what the state is, then we understand that employing the state to do anything, to advocate for the state to do anything, advocates for an organization to have a monopolistic organization to do violence against somebody. And I'm not saying I have a problem with that in some circumstances. I don't mind violence being done to murderers, thieves, arsonists, and bad things like that. As long as we're going to have an organization that claims a monopoly, then by God, let's turn him loose on the bad guys.
Rights violators.
Yeah, but do I think that a monopoly is good compared to organizations that have to deal with competition? Nope, I don't.
It's never good.
No,
depends how it's created. If it's a natural monopoly, and I don't have a problem with the formation of a monopoly.
In theory, that could exist.
It's rare,
but I don't think it has.
Can you tell me one? I mean, I'm not saying that you're wrong. I would agree with a natural monopoly. Any organization that simply has for itself a monopoly in a given area that no one wants to compete against apparently is so good at its job.
Right. So good, so cheap, so efficient, so good at customer service that no one is competing with them. I mean,
theoretically,
it's never happened, has it?
It could exist.
Well, yeah, I don't have one off the top of my head,
good.
but I'm not against monopolies as a concept. Just the formation of government granted.
Right.
Sure.
So let's say we have a community of 500 people. One guy is a plumber.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
And the one guy who's a plumber, he's got his house. His house is paid for. He doesn't have to worry about anything. He doesn't mind being a turd herder in his spare time. So off he goes, and he takes care of...
I've never heard that as a term for plumber.
And he takes care of people's plumbing.
Not very kind.
And people, well, sure, they get paid a really kind wage, so they don't care what you call
in
him.
his case, he would be very affordable.
Right. Well, I'm just saying that this guy, he goes and does his thing, and he's doing it to help people out, and everybody in this 500-person community doesn't shove stupid things down their drain. It doesn't frustrate the plumber. Like, these are good customers, and he's a good plumber, and suddenly we have a natural monopoly. Fine. I love him. I think he's awesome. I just don't believe in it because I know what customers are like. I know what your kid's like. He's shoved little plastic figures down the thing, and he's jamming up and then you got to go in there and dig them out every week.
Well, even in that case, for him not to be for him not to be a monopoly, someone would have to enter into competition with him and say, I can also plumb those toys out of the toilet for cheaper.
Yes.
Were we going somewhere with the monopoly?
I don't remember.
I just wanted to clarify natural monopolies.
Okay, got it. So back to the story about the Ocasio-Cortez proposal, which has been filed as legislation to remove a legal barrier that makes it difficult, very difficult for the scientists to study medical benefits of psychedelic drugs and other illegal drugs. The measure, which is an amendment to a large-scale appropriations bill funding parts of the government for fiscal year 2020, would delete a long-standing rider that prohibits spending federal money for, quote, any activity that promotes the legalization of any drug or other substance in Schedule 1 of the Controlled Substances Act. The summary states, quote, academics and scientists report that provisions like this create stigma and insurmountable logistical hurdles to researching Schedule 1 drugs. Cannabis is, according to Forbes, classified under Schedule 1 as well, which, by the way, for those that don't know, Schedule 1 is on this list of controlled substances, Schedule 1 is the highest, meaning it's supposedly the drugs that have no accepted medical benefit, which is false because marijuana has plenty of accepted medical benefits, but yet there it is on Schedule 1. Researchers wishing to study cannabis also have to overcome procedural hurdles that don't exist for other less restricted substances. The existing policy in question that Ocasio-Cortez is seeking to overturn has been attached to legislation funding the U.S. Departments of Labor, Health and Human Services, and Education since at least 1996. So
she's piggybacking on other legislation?
She's piggybacking it on the fiscal year 2020 large-scale appropriations bill funding parts of the government. So, quote, the language has served as a gag rule on government employees discussing the benefits of legalization, according to Michael Collins, director of the Drug Policy Alliance's National Affairs Office. He says, quote, we're moving away from the war on drugs, slowly but surely, and language like this belongs in Nancy Reagan's journal, not in a Democrat bill. Representative Lou Correa from California, also a Democrat, filed a separate amendment to the new spending bill that would block the Department of Education from moving to, quote, deny or limit any funding or assistance to institutions of higher education that allow the use or possession of medical marijuana in states where it has been legalized. So just to be clear, that means that right now, if there's a, let's say a college that
wants to have a medical program to teach doctors about it, the DOE under some Republican can't stop the funding. And I agree with that because states should have that power. However, the federal government shouldn't be funding state colleges anyway. Where is that in the Constitution?
Totally agree with you there. This, of course, is just symbolic, right? Like this is the idea of it is we're not going to end federal funding of colleges. That's not going. Nobody's going to propose that. I mean, we'd like to see that happen. We'd like to see the government get out of education entirely. But because we know that's not going to happen, well, it wouldn't be a bad thing to delete these prohibitionist statements from the funding mechanisms and all that. The potential loss of federal funds has been held up by many colleges and universities as the reason they won't allow students to bring medical cannabis onto campus, even though they're legal patients under state law. So you're literally preventing young people who are medical patients from using their medicine while they're in college. There's like, oh, you want to use your medicine? You can't go to college here.
Well, they prevent legal firearms users from entering on college campuses, too.
That's true. And they shouldn't do that either.
There's probably a handful of people out there that really can't live without their THC drugs. But those people could probably get an on dormitory exemption, basically an on-campus exemption. So you don't have to live in dormitories to go to college.
You don't have to in some cases, but here at Keene State, where we live in Keene, New Hampshire, it is generally a requirement that the first 2 years you spend living in a dormitory. Now, it may be negotiable. I don't know. I don't know what would happen because they've been losing students.
Everything's negotiable.
Hand over fist. So if you went into the college, whatever office you'd have to talk to about this and said, hey, look, I want to go to school here, but I don't want to live on campus. I don't want to follow that rule. Do you want my money? They might say, all right, fine, we'll take the money.
Fine, we'll take the money.
My college had the same rule. 2 years.
Did anybody get around it?
I paid for it, and then I lived off campus anyway.
Sweet.
For like a semester and a half.
Wow.
Toll-free number here, 855-450-FREE. That's 855-450-3733. You can bring up what you want. We'll talk more about the war on drugs, and you can also take control of the airwaves here on the live Sunday edition of Free Talk Live.
I'm crazy about My Magic Mud. This is the most important oral care product created this millennium, and I'm not kidding. We all have different opinions on politics and issues, but we all have mouths. And I want yours to be as clean as possible, with teeth as bright as they were meant to be. I will never be without My Magic Mud. It's a little surprising, but man, does it work. If you only listen to one thing I say ever, go to mymagicmud.com and get 20% off with code FTL. mymagicmud.com, code FTL.
Free Talk Live.
It is Free Talk Live, and we're launching into the second hour of the program. You can dial in toll-free here. We've been talking so far about proposals, and successful ones, in the case of Oakland, California City Council voting unanimously to decriminalize the possession and even the manufacture or the growing of medical mushrooms, or not even medical mushrooms, just possession of mushrooms for recreational purposes or whatever. And they've made it the lowest police priority. That's a done deal. It happened. And that was, I think, earlier this week when that news came out. By the way, in the studio tonight, it's Ian here.
Rich.
And Mark.
855-450-FREE. If you want to join us, that's 855-450-3733. Maybe you want to share your comments on this. Maybe psychedelic mushrooms have helped you in your life. Perhaps.
Or maybe you think they desperately need to remain illegal.
Yeah, I mean,
Don't be that guy.
We'd be happy to take those calls. It's harder than ever to get those sorts of callers on this subject, but they must exist. So if you want to join us, 855-450-FREE, like freedom. So not only has Oakland done a good thing, but Denver voters actually passed a ballot measure to decriminalize. Again, these aren't legalization measures, they're decriminalizations, which lowers the police priorities on enforcing these things. In Oakland's case, they're not allowed to spend any city money either on these enforcements.
How does that work for prosecution then? Because even if they don't spend,
it's money, right?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So even if they arrest you for it, they drop the charge.
They should have to drop the charge.
You can't spend any money on prosecution.
Right. They may get to confiscate the mushrooms at that point, but that may be all you lose in that circumstance. So the other news that's related to this, before we get into the story that you have, Richie, about the millennials and fixing things around the house.
Good times.
Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez has filed a bill, and also another U.S. rep, Lou Correa from California, filed a separate amendment to a large, all of this in a spending bill, that would essentially make it easier for scientists to do studies on illegal drugs, which is very important because for so many years we didn't know really much of anything about the things that the government had deemed to be prohibited. It was just, nope, these are illegal, you'll be arrested, you cannot have them, you cannot test them, you cannot learn about them. That was the way it was.
Yeah. Now, this isn't government funding for psychedelic research.
It might turn into that.
No, actually, Mark, the statement here was that one of the things that what she's proposing removing is a rider that prohibits spending federal money for, quote, any activity that promotes the legalization of any drug or other substance in Schedule 1. So whether or not the study would promote the legalization, it could just be a study, but by the interpretation of whichever politicians, they could argue it's promoting legalization, and so therefore it wouldn't get funding. Look, to come back to what we said before, on this show, we're against government, period, the coercive states, the government goons taking your money and giving it to science at all. I mean, I support science, but science should be supported on a voluntary basis. But the reality of it is a lot of these scientific studies in colleges, for instance, are funded through government grants and government money.
And you have the Democratic Socialists proposing it, which means she'll likely advocate for government funding going to promote the studies later, after. Right?
If they're going to spend the money on studying things, at the very least, they shouldn't be prohibited from studying these things. That's kind of the argument here. The money's there. It's going to get spent.
And it's going to be spent on, scientific research, and some of that scientific research is dumb.
Some of it's, total garbage.
But I'm against it.
Sure. But regardless, are you in favor of striking the prohibition on the funding? Even though you're against funding science with government,
scientists should be able to study whatever they want, and if they can't, they live under a dictatorship, probably a theocratic one.
Yeah. So, it's a nuanced position for a libertarian to take here. The idea that, we're against all government funding of scientific studies, but while they're going to be funding it, they ought to allow these studies to be funded in the same way that we're against government marriage, right? But while government is going to be doing marriage licenses, they ought to give those licenses to anybody who wants, any voluntary couple or triple or however many people want it, should be able to get that piece of paper.
And I don't like making that secondary argument personally, right?
The part that they should, if,
right,
when, and if.
The when and if, because whenever you do that, it turns into a situation where it's, well, the government is going to exist, and so while it's going to exist, here's all the programs that I think should occur. And the libertarian position should stop at, well, the government shouldn't be doing it, the government shouldn't exist.
I got you. That's the position. But when you're in a political role, which you wouldn't be because you would never run for office.
Right.
But, if you were Ron Paul, if you could put yourself in Ron Paul's shoes, now obviously he's not in the U.S. House anymore, but he was for a number of terms. If you were Ron Paul, your doctor no, you vote no on pretty much anything that is going to increase the size of government. This one doesn't really increase the size of government. The government is what it is. It has the money that it's going to spend on these things. So what would you do in that circumstance? You can either vote no, and the prohibition on these studies being funded would continue, which, as was pointed out earlier by the guy from the Drug Policy Alliance, that prohibition puts a sort of dampener effect, period, on people even being interested in these colleges and in doing these studies. So how would you vote?
Well, you have to look at the rest of the bill, because she's slipping this into another spending bill.
Oh, that's a good point. Yeah. So let's say it was its own bill. Let's say it was its own bill. How would you vote on it?
If it's own bill, if you're putting me on the spot, if it's own bill, I'm always in favor of bills that remove restrictions on anything.
So the potential loss of federal funds has been held up by colleges as reasons they won't allow students to bring medical cannabis on campus. This was another thing that the other guy, Lou Correa, wants to strike, to allow colleges to receive funding if they have students on campus who are using cannabis for medicinal purposes. Right now that's prohibited. According to the story, Ocasio-Cortez's psychedelics amendment is especially timely. Then they point out that Denver has approved their ballot measure, making their city the first in the nation to decriminalize psilocybin mushrooms. And then the Oakland story that we talked about earlier, they mentioned that. On Monday, the House Rules Committee, which prepares bills for action on the floor, will decide whether either or both of the drug policy reform amendments will be allowed for votes when the full body considers the funding legislation later in the week. While it remains to be seen if the chamber's new Democratic leadership will clear the amendments' advancement, their Rules Committee chairman has repeatedly criticized his Republican predecessor for blocking cannabis-related amendments and pledged that he would take a different approach. This is a man named James McGovern from Massachusetts. He said shortly after last year's midterm elections, quote, "I'm not going to block marijuana amendments like my predecessor has done. As the chairman of the Rules Committee, I'm not going to block them. People ought to bring them to the floor. They should be debated, and people ought to vote the way they feel appropriate." So this is just a proposed amendment. It may not even be included in the bill. This may be much ado about nothing, but at the very least, it's something.
It's being talked about.
It's a baby step. Yeah. It's being talked about, and really, that's all you can expect out of the federal government are, these little baby steps. Like when Trump did his sentencing reform bill, they literally called it like the baby steps bill or something like. There was some sort of very, insignificant name to this bill of reducing sentencing, madness and the punishments that are being dealt out towards people who have committed no violent acts. So I agree with you, Richie. We do need to applaud these people when they get something right. It's very rare that they will get something right.
And they're not going to get it perfectly right because they're politicians.
They definitely won't.
Yeah, and it seemed to me, especially at the beginning of his administration, there was a lot of repeals from the Trump administration on certain federal restrictions. I don't recall all of them offhand, but I was like, well, yeah, as long as he's rolling back the government,
right.
Maybe not an applaud, but a golf clap, definitely.
Right. Unfortunately, he's probably bringing more government in certain areas, right?
And with the tariffs recently, he's going in the opposite direction of more freedom and liberty. And so,
there was an update on that story, by the way, with the Mexican tariffs, and we didn't really get in. We mentioned it last night, but we really didn't get into it. That is that Trump has announced that Mexico has agreed to crack down on immigration, and so therefore the tariffs will not be going into place.
Agreed in air quotes, because they can agree all they want. I don't think they've been very well done at actually stopping the immigrants.
There's a little bit more here that's related to marijuana reform, And it says here there's a separate bill funding other parts of the government for the next fiscal year, contains a provision to protect banks that serve marijuana businesses from being punished by financial regulators. And apparently that's already in whatever the other bill that is. It also deletes a longstanding rider preventing D.C. from spending its own local tax dollars to legalize and regulate cannabis sales. So there's a couple good things there for cannabis legalization to allow the banks to actually do business with cannabis companies. That'd be a huge change. More coming up here. It's Free Talk Live. It's Free Talk Live, and you can bring up whatever you want here. The toll-free number is 855-450, free like freedom. It's 855-450-3733. If you are an individual who rejects the initiation of force and you agree to abide by the ethics of the non-aggression principle, you ought to check out liberty.menu. It's a it is cool, but it's a tool for the libertarian and voluntarist community. It sure is. It's well designed, well programmed, easy to use. It's a directory for events, businesses, digital content, and more. Basically, whatever it is you do, if you're a liberty-minded person, you want other people who care about freedom to know about it, just put it up on liberty.menu. It's free. There's no cost to add things to liberty.menu. If you want to spend something to, let's say, promote your thing that you do more than the rest of the items on the site, you can upgrade. But by default, the basic level membership is totally free at liberty.menu. And it's super easy to use and handy and programmed by somebody that we know. Actually, if you're going to Forkfest, you'll probably meet him. His name's Patrick. Liberty.menu. I'm sure we'll be interviewing him from the event as well as we have for the last few years. It's liberty.menu. You can use code FTL and get a special Free Talk Live listener badge there. Whatever you do, if you want people to know about it who care about liberty, that's the place that it should be listed. All right, so I think we've talked about the latest on, and the good news on, ending the war on drugs. Little baby steps are being taken all around the country in different places, and so I'm glad to see this happen. Hopefully we'll see a decriminalization bill coming up again in New Hampshire, and maybe we can convince some of the Liberty reps to put psilocybin in there.
Slip it in with the rest of it.
Yeah, absolutely. Because what I had actually suggested to Mark Warden, who, of course, longtime listeners know is a sponsor of Free Talk Live. He's basically the Liberty real estate agent.
PorcupineRealestate.com.
Yeah, great guy, great real estate agent. Anyway, he's also a great state representative, and he's the guy who won the A-plus rating, the Liberty Legislator of the Year award from the New Hampshire Liberty Alliance twice.
Nice.
Because he's that good. Like, he's the kind of guy who wears an anarcho-capitalist T-shirt, as a state representative, basically. So, I mean, he's not hiding it, what his beliefs are. Great guy. And so I wrote him an email earlier this year because the legalization bill this year failed. Actually, it's on the table. Technically, they kind of never pushed it through to the governor because they knew he was going to veto it. So they sort of kept it on the table through till 2020. I said, well, we know that the governor, who's a Republican in New Hampshire, so we got a Republican governor and a Democrat state house. And mostly Senate, I think, as well.
Yeah, and executive committee.
Yeah. So, he's done some good things by stopping some bad legislation, from what I understand, like, gun control. I think he's going to be vetoing that stuff. But he also pledged to veto the legalization bill, which is stupid. But to the guy's credit, he also signed the decriminalization bill back in 2017 when his predecessor, who was a Democrat, refused to do so.
How bizarre.
Yeah, New Hampshire's different. The Republicans and Democrats don't fit into the kind of the standard molds here as much as they do in other places.
It's really the truth. I think the Democrats fit into the molds better than they do here than they on a national level. What I'm saying is the Democrats are more Democrat here than the Republicans are Republican.
Right. And so again, the legalization bill basically was going to fail this year. Okay. So they didn't push it forward. And so I said, well, this governor has claimed that he supports decriminalization. He signed a decriminalization bill previously. Let's give him another decriminalization bill. Let's decriminalize manufacture of marijuana. Let's decriminalize distribution of marijuana. Because when they decriminalized possession, they only made it so people possessing less than 3/4 of an ounce would get a violation. So it would no longer be a misdemeanor arrestable offense, which is a good thing, but it was a baby step in the right direction. Let's make it so it's a ticketable offense if you get caught with a house full of marijuana plants. Let's make it so it's a ticketable offense if you've got 17 pounds of marijuana in the trunk of your car. So let's go further with decriminalization. Maybe, he doesn't want to legalize it, and I don't know this guy, right? I've never talked to the governor. Maybe he doesn't want to have a state regulatory body or whatever. Who knows what his real reasons are for opposing this? Or maybe he's just the police's lackey and he'll do whatever it is the cops want. But if that's the case, why did he sign the decriminalization bill? Because the cops sure as hell...
To distinguish himself from the Democrat?
But the cops sure as hell didn't want that.
No, they certainly didn't.
He seems to do what the police
want. But he
want.
backed them on the death penalty thing.
That's what I'm saying.
So
he backed the cops when...
That got overturned anyway.
A veto override.
Yeah.
So a bunch of Republicans voted against the governor on that one, and that got pushed through. And that's good. I'm glad to see New Hampshire has ended the death penalty. It's, I think, the 20-somethingth state to do that. It was the last state of all of New England's states to end the death penalty. So I'm like, all right, well, if we're going to do a decrim bill, why not throw some psilocybin mushrooms in there too while we're at it?
Throw everything in there to see if he actually reads it. Decrim marijuana / all drugs.
Other plants.
In one
drink decrim marijuana plus other naturally growing substances.
Sure, something
right?
like that.
Yeah.
Well, he has people who read these things.
I'm sure he does.
Well, I've brought in stories where they've screwed up their entire thing and deregulated the
all of Idaho,
entire,
right?
All of Idaho, yeah. So
did they ever get around to re-regulating that?
I don't know. I have personally not followed up.
Yeah.
But
I did say Idaho, didn't I?
I heard Idaho.
Yeah.
Okay.
So anyway, we'll see what happens. I don't know if it's going to happen, but he knows the guy, Mark Warden, our friend and state legislator, Liberty legislator, knows the guy who proposed the legalization bill, the Democrat, and they get along really well. So I'm like, let's, bipartisan bill. Republicans, Democrats, both calling for decrim. Hey, if we can't get legalization through, it actually would be better to just keep decriminalizing it, right? Because if we could keep this is fantasy land, right? But if we could keep decriminalizing drugs to the point where there's no criminal penalty whatsoever, but there's also no legalized regulatory scheme on it,
right?
Wouldn't that be ideal?
Like the sale of tomatoes or something.
Exactly.
Sure.
Where you could go to the farmer's market and just start selling weed.
The Emporium.
Or the Emporium, or open up a store, or whatever. All right, so let's change gears here, Richie. You've got a story about millennials.
Oh, my goodness.
And
yes,
everybody likes to talk crap about millennials.
People love to pick on the millennials. It's not fair, of course, because everybody's an individual, and we here on Free Talk Live acknowledge that everybody is an individual.
However, there are certainly things about younger people that make me cranky as a guy.
And that are true as a group.
48-year-old who's probably should be 68.
I say, you darn kids.
Hey, 68,
get off my
68's the new 48.
You can declare it to be so. There was an article that one guy who decided, he just decided he was younger than he was.
Really?
Self-described as, 20 years younger.
I had not heard of this article.
I will find it during the break for you.
I'm going to self-describe as 20 years younger than me, turn into a socialist and stop working.
Huh.
Become a beer and coffee snob.
Like, you're better off being 20 years older then and just getting on Social Security and not working.
Well, the people on Social Security paid in. I don't care what y'all say about it. Yes, it's a crappy scheme, and yes, they're going to get ripped off in the long run, but they paid in.
All right. And this one goes even further. It's millennials against the boomer generation, because that's the other one people like to make fun of. Millennial dads have terrible DIY skills. Half don't own a stepladder or cordless drill.
Wow. I mean, I have terrible DIY skills, but at the very least, I own both stepladder, an actual ladder, and a drill.
Yes, but you don't have a cordless drill.
You know what? You're going to get better power out of a corded drill anyway.
I agree with that. I have a corded drill.
Yeah.
Hold on a second.
I have an extension
cord. Just get a damn extension cord.
God, you people don't know what you're talking about. Okay, look. So a cordless drill is also a driver, right? Like it puts screws in the walls and things like that. A drill, if you try to use a drill to
Hold that thought. More coming up here in moments. It is Free Talk Live. Bitcoin.com has launched a trading platform at local.bitcoin.com, allowing you to buy or sell Bitcoin Cash via dozens of payment methods like PayPal, Venmo, bank deposit, remittances, or meeting in person with cash. There are no ID requirements to sign up for and use the site, and all communications between buyers and sellers are encrypted. Finally, a global trading platform that respects your privacy. Visit local.bitcoin.com to get started trading Bitcoin Cash. local.bitcoin.com. It's Free Talk Live Sunday edition here. Whether you want to talk about drugs or drills, we can do it.
Impact drivers.
Yeah, and we're going to get into it here with your calls and thoughts. Also, welcome. Our number is 855-450-FREE. That's 855-450-3733. With you tonight, Ian.
Richie Rich.
And Mark.
HelpMeTakeBitcoin.com. You think it's too difficult. It sounds confusing. All this new cryptocurrency, technology, you don't know what you're getting into. But you know the people are talking about Bitcoin. You've seen it on the news. You've heard maybe some of your friends or family members talking about it, maybe over the dinner table or Thanksgiving or wherever. You've heard the discussions. And you know that other businesses have started taking it. Perhaps you heard the news about AT&T Wireless now beginning to accept cryptocurrency payments in Bitcoin and Bitcoin Cash through their website for their wireless customers. This is a big deal. Some big companies are getting in on this, but also some mom and pops as well. So if you're ready to start accepting cryptocurrency at your point of sale, at your business, or maybe you're just an individual who wants to make it easy to take cryptocurrency from your friends or your customers, AnyPay makes it easy. In fact, just go to helpmetakebitcoin.com. And our friends, by the way, are the founders and the operators over at AnyPay. Former co-host Derek J. Freeman.
They're co-hosts.
Well, yeah, former regular co-host.
Guest hosts.
Yeah, they're on once a month here because they're too darn busy doing productive things with AnyPay. You know.
Well, and it's a heck of a drive to Portsmouth.
Yeah, they live 2 hours away now. But helpmetakebitcoin.com. We'll be seeing them this weekend, though. In fact, they're coming up to Forkfest on Thursday. I talked to them about it today, so I'm sure I'm going to drag them over if they're not too busy building their what is purported to be a very awesome geodesic dome for the very first time, where they're going to be throwing parties at Forkfest.
Well, since I'm kind of handy, I'll go over and help them put that together.
Oh, are you coming on Thursday?
Bring your battery-operated tools.
Okay, cool. Glad to know you're going to show up. So that's day number 1 of Forkfest. You can go to forkfest.party to learn more about that. But anyway, if you want to learn more about accepting cryptocurrency, you can go through the very quick, I think it's a 4-step process. It's super easy. They say 5 minutes. I'm going to tell you, if your download is slow, it might take a little longer than that because you usually have to download a wallet, for instance, and download their software, the AnyPay app, to your device at your register. But the downloading is really the longest part of this. And once you download these things, it takes just moments to get them set up and get them rolling. It's super easy to do. It's even easier now than it's ever been. I was helping a local business, because local businesses here in the Keene area have been accepting cryptocurrency for years now. I mean, we're the crypto mecca here in Keene. And so one local business guy wanted to upgrade his crypto wallet to a different type of wallet. There's a bunch of these things. And so we needed to update his payment addresses in the back end of AnyPay. And it used to be that you had to log into an admin screen and copy and paste some addresses over there. And the admin screen was different from the app. Well, now it's all built into the app. You can just do it straight from the AnyPay app. So just download the AnyPay app from your Google or Apple App Store. And it is so easy now. It was easy before, but it's even easier now than it was, say, a year ago with AnyPay, because they just keep making it better. They keep improving the design, and it's still free as well to accept cryptocurrency payments through AnyPay. So really, there's nothing to lose here. It doesn't take much time at all. HelpMeTakeBitcoin.com. Get started over there with AnyPay, and you'll be accepting Bitcoin or Bitcoin Cash, Dash, Zcash, and several others if you want. HelpMeTakeBitcoin.com. All right, you guys are going to talk about drivers versus drills. You and I, Richie, were saying that a cordless drill is inferior to a corded drill because of power issues. Mark, you disagreed with that.
He was going to school us.
Right. So
you did build your own house, so you know a thing or two about this.
Right. So what I would say is that a cordless drill is a more versatile tool.
Because it has no cord on it?
No. Because you can do more things with it, especially the kind of half-inch drill that you have, Ian. You've got the kind that you probably got.
What's the half-inch measure?
I don't really know. I think it's up to the size of the bit that it'll take, maybe. I don't know.
The diameter of the bit? It seems like it'll take.
It's the diameter of the piece that goes into the bit. So you can have a larger drill bit, but there's the shaft that slides into it as a half-inch. Mm-hmm. There's also, I think, 3/8 inches, the larger drill, and usually that's a hammer drill, and it's a bit bigger. And anyway, so that drill, when you attempt to, let's say, drive a screw.
Yeah.
Now, yes, an impact driver is a cordless impact driver is better than a cordless drill at driving a screw. However, if all you've got is the choice between a cordless drill and a corded drill, you're going to have a lot nicer day. using the cordless drill than you will.
Because there's no cord on it? It's just easier to deal with?
No, it's not about the cord.
Well, what the hell is the difference?
It stops is the answer.
It stops.
When you take the drill, your half-inch corded drill that you think is fine for driving screws, however, you haven't drove a screw with it in forever.
Oh, actually, I have within the last probably several months.
Well, what happens when you go, it slowly ramps up, and then it drives, and then when you release the trigger, it slowly backs down, as opposed to a cordless drill which just stops.
Huh.
So it's the period of time between releasing the drill trigger and when the drill actually stops. I've tried to drive some screws and have driven some screws with your corded drill. However, you'll note when I have to, I bring over my own tools. I'm speaking as the person who's hung more than half of the shelves in this house.
Why would it not stop on a corded drill?
It's just not designed for that. A corded drill is a tool for drilling holes, specifically your type, which you probably got from your dad when he upgraded back in 1995.
No, I got mine from the hardware store.
So are you distinguishing between a drill and a driver in the same argument?
I'm saying that a cordless drill acts as a far better driver than a corded drill does.
Huh.
However, there are certainly advantages to a driver if you can get them.
But if you had a corded driver,
that's a better tool, but only marginally better.
Okay.
Having both,
it wouldn't have the wind up, wind down problem that you're
absolutely
addressing.
not.
Okay.
I have a cordless driver and a cordless drill, and if I'm doing a job that requires drilling and driving, I'll just grab the cordless drill and do the job.
Okay.
If the driver's convenient, I will grab it, but it is not significantly better for the job. I like mine because it has an LED light and lights up.
Ooh.
Whoopie-doo!
Okay. Well, that's interesting. So are you saying that no corded drill stops when it's...
Maybe the new ones do. I don't know. I don't use them for that. I use corded drills. Like if I'm going to drill I'm going to drill concrete and put in tap cons. Yeah, I'll get out my hammer drill and I'll get right in there and get that job done.
Okay.
But if I'm going to drill a hole in wood, I'm just going to use my cordless drill. I'm not going to bother with that.
Gotcha.
But you have to. The disadvantage to corded drills is they have lithium-ion batteries that sometimes catch your house on fire, and that's a real problem.
Well, and if you have again, this is what my contention was. If you have a large job, the changing out the batteries throughout the day is problematic in my mind.
Sure.
Whereas you run an extension cord, whether it's a corded drill or corded driver, right? as long as the power doesn't go off, you're going to have the same.
I can't
torque
think of
and power going through the drill the entire
too
day.
many jobs that I've had to do just in life with a drill
that long
that have gone that I would have gone through a battery on that were wood.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I mean, concrete, yeah. It's just hard. I think.
Look, I'm not against battery operated things. I've got those battery operated. I've got a battery operated lawnmower, man, and it's awesome. Super quiet.
But you don't mow the lawn. What do you?
I did mow it once.
Okay, good.
Just to try it.
Okay.
But I hate mowing lawns.
Yeah.
I used to mow them in Florida, and when I moved up here, I said I'd never want to mow a lawn again.
Yeah.
You have a guy?
Yeah. I've got tenants.
Nice.
Do that stuff. I'll buy the lawnmower. You mow the damn lawn. But I did mow it just because it was so neat. I wanted to try it out and see exactly how nice it was. And it was pretty sweet.
I may try one out now that I've moved to a different location.
You've got a lawn?
Yeah, small. It's small little, if you call it that. I mean,
yeah, if you got a small lawn, the electric ones are perfect.
I might just use my weed eater because that's small.
Because if it's too big of a lawn, you're going to end up having to change a battery, and you don't want to have to do that in the middle of a job.
That's why you get a gas lawnmower.
Yeah, but then you got to deal with all the problems of a gas mower where you got... I mean, you know what I'm talking about, right? Like anybody that's had a gas lawnmower knows how problematic they can be.
Wait, you don't... the people down south do not know how problematic they are because they don't pack them up for half a year and then the gas goes bad in them if you didn't put stabilizer fuel in. When I was in Florida, I still had to mow my lawn
in the wintertime.
Around the wintertime. I didn't have to do it nearly as often, but I had to do it. So I never had a problem of bad gas. Up here...
There's other things that go wrong with them, though.
Absolutely. Well. But they just don't know.
The toll-free number here tonight is 855-450-FREE, 855-450-3733. We got more on millennials and homework stuff coming. It is Free Talk Live, the live Sunday edition of the show. You can dial in toll-free here. Bring up whatever's on your mind. Our number is 855-450-FREE, like freedom. That's 855-450-3733. Don't forget about the AMP program. AMP stands for Advertise, Market, and Promote. It's a way for you, as a Free Talk Live listener, to become a direct supporter of Free Talk Live, to help us promote Free Talk Live, get on more radio stations around the country. We have over 200 radio stations. Finally, we made that milestone within the last month, and it's thanks to listeners like you becoming amplifiers at amp.freetalklive.com. That's the website where you can learn more about it, what we spend the money on, what kind of cool perks you'll get as an amplifier. Go to amp.freetalklive.com. It's amp.freetalklive.com. You can use credit card, you can use PayPal, or Bitcoin BTC to get signed up. It's amp.freetalklive.com. Let's go to Dan. He's in California, and then more on millennials and failure of home repair here in moments. But Dan, you're up first. Go ahead.
Gentlemen, good afternoon or evening.
Welcome.
I just want to say that topic of drills was riveting. I wanted the whole break to come up with that.
Do you feel like we drilled down into the subject?
Oh, yeah, but if you don't mind, I'm going to switch from lawnmowers to grass. Talk about weeds.
All right, cool. That's my favorite kind of grass.
Oh, yes, it is. So there are some wonderful things about living out here in California. There's pros and cons of everything. And we don't have as much freedom as you guys do with, like, guns and small government. But out here in California, our niche is freedom, which is very wide. That lane is very small, but it is drugs. You like drugs? California is your place. I just drove up from the Bay. I'm headed back to my home, and I just bought a couple of ounces of weed. I bought some edibles.
Sweet. What's an ounce of weed cost, and where'd you buy it, and what does it cost you?
I was at my girlfriend's house. I went to weedmaps.com, pressed the button. The guy was there in 15 minutes. I got a decent ounce for about $100.
You trust that? Tax. You trust that app?
What's it called? Weed Match?
Weed Map.
Weed Map. Weedmaps.com. Now, it's only good if you're in a legal state like California.
Okay.
Yeah, it's not going to work for you guys.
So is Weed Map hooks you up with delivery people? Is that what it does?
Right. Exactly. You go to weedmaps.com, you'll see a row of delivery people in your area, and then you just go on the app, select one.
Wait a minute. It's Weed Maps, plural. Hold on, just to clarify. It's Weed Maps, plural. WEEDMAPS. Okay, got it.
Be careful anyway, because I had a coworker who was using, I don't know if this is the one he was using, but he was using something similar. I was like, dude, why are you giving the app your information? Like, there has to be a Fed on there somewhere.
Oh, if it's legal, what's it matter?
Because again, it's not legal at the federal level.
Doesn't matter, dude. They're not going around arresting. They're not going around arresting weed smokers in California. It doesn't happen.
All right.
And that's my only point about the whole suicidal, switching to the same topic. The whole Oakland. If you've ever been to Oakland, you realize that this isn't. It's nice that they are making the mushrooms legal, but mushrooms on a scale of things that are important in Oakland should be like 9,999.
Right.
Their cops are corrupt. There's gangbangers. There's so many other things. Murder capital of California. That really, if you're worried about mushrooms in Oakland, their priorities need to get straightened out. They've got so many other things worse they can worry about. So I'm glad they moved in that direction, and I hope the rest of America moves in that direction. But unfortunately, like you guys were saying earlier, isn't it weird how hypocritical some of these Republicans and Democrats too that claim to be for small government when it comes to things like guns and will sign certain things for like guns to protect that, but they won't protect other Americans' rights for drugs. I want to take drugs and not hurt nobody.
Right.
We just had him on last night. Last night we were talking to a bunch of Republicans, and they were talking about, I support small government except the Customs and Border Patrol apparatus, which we need to make larger. And this agency has been successful at anything? I mean, this organizational model, the government itself has been successful. Why do you want to turn this over to the government? And the answer is because somebody else will have to deal with the inefficient and arguably evil organization, not me. So I'm fine with that.
Everyone has that one program that they want the government to take care of. And that's one of the big problems, because they're always advocating for that one thing that can't be done outside of the state apparatus. And everyone does it.
Right. I'm a hypocrite myself because I want the smallest government because as a black person, I can tell you the people who suffer the most from big government are people of color. If cops aren't breaking in and shooting folks for doing cocaine in rich white neighborhoods, they do that in Oakland every day. They'll bust in and kick a door down. Oops, wrong house. Sorry, my bad. But the next house, the address wrong. In Atlanta, same thing. Majority black neighborhoods, if we suffer from big government the most. So I'm an advocate of small government on every level, especially drugs. Not only an excuse for them to pull me over. No, if everything in my car is legal, then what can you pull me over for? So leave me alone.
Your tail lights out.
Yeah, well, that's true. I've gotten that at the time.
Have you seen this conspiracy theory that that if you call the black person calls themselves a Moor, that they can basically get out of everything?
The Moors.
You might get more of an ass kicking.
I don't believe it, but I have seen a video where a guy pulls out a Moroccan flag and shakes it at the cops, and ultimately they did let his butt go.
Huh.
Was it more confusion than anything else?
I don't know. I don't know. When I get pulled over by the cops, it's yes, sir. No, sir. Is there anything in the car? No, sir. Can you search the car? I prefer not to.
That's what I advocate for. I mean,
just a quick question: do the black cops treat you any different?
Oh, they're worse. They got something to prove to the white cops. Yeah, they got to prove they're so on with them. I used to be a military police officer, and I wanted to become a cop until I realized who I was amongst. And I was like, ooh, no, this is a bad element, and I can't do it. So I went on to do other things. But, no, the black cops are worse than the white cops in a lot of places.
I think NWA said something about that in their epic song, F the Police, back in the day.
Absolutely.
Black police showing out for the white cops?
That's right. That's what they said.
Malcolm X probably laid it out the clearest in his discussions surrounding the House Negro. But
yeah. We got a lot of them. Bean Carsons and whatever her name is.
I'm not naming names. I'm just saying that there's a historical phenomenon.
No. Candace Owens. Who's the pizza guy? I can't remember his name.
Herman Cain, yeah.
Godfather's Pizza.
Yeah, 999. Yeah, all of them. You can take them. We call them coons. You can have them. I don't want to.
It's okay. He can say it.
No, I'll be real with you. I've been listening to you guys for 10 years. I feel like we're friends. You guys signed over. You were going to do me an internship when I was up at San Jose State, and you guys are going to sign off on that, and I really appreciate that.
You worked with us.
Yes. So I'll tell you anything you guys want to know. I feel like we're family. You know what I mean? So
right on, man.
Whatever you want to know about the black community, I appreciate it.
I understand. There are things inside of that some black people choose to do, like call other black people coons, that I cannot live with.
So I'm looking at I want to go back to the weed discussion here. I'm looking at this Weed Maps, and it's a pretty nice site. Like, you can type in where you're at, and it'll show you what
you're going to give them your personal information.
What the legal. I didn't have to give them any information, just a search.
Okay.
It shows you like put in Keene, New Hampshire, and it shows you the medical dispensaries. It only shows you the legal options in your areas. It doesn't show you some shifty dude down the street.
No, the app my buddy was using with connected dealers and buyers. It wasn't legal medical dispensaries.
No, this is just legal. Well, I mean, if it's recreational, it shows you recreational if that's available, but it's not in New Hampshire yet. So if you put in California, then it shows you recreational. You're saying you got somebody to deliver you an ounce of good weed for $100? Where do you find that on this app? I'm seeing here in San Francisco, $300, $270, $400 ounces.
Okay, because I stay up in Francisco, and that's why I don't live there anymore. I live in the Bay. I bought a house. My house in San Jose that I just moved out of was worth $1.3 million.
Jesus.
I had to split the rent with 4 guys.
All right. Well, what city do I punch in here to find the ounce of weed for $100?
Castroville.
Santa Maria.
Santa Maria.
That's where I live now.
Okay. All right.
Yep, and that's you'll find $100 specials. And I play this little game where I call Domino's first. I call my weed guy second, and I see who gets there first. Whoever gets there first gets $40 tip.
Sometimes it might be the same guy.
Good call. Dan, thanks for sharing your thoughts with us tonight, and I appreciate hearing from you. The toll-free number is 855-450-FREE like freedom. That's 855-450-3733. You can take control of the airwaves here. We got a full hour to go. We still haven't really gotten into your story yet, Richie.
We only got through the headline.
About the Millennials and their lack of cordless drills and stepladders and such. We'll get into that here.
Why do they want to ruin everything?
And your calls and thoughts are welcome. 855-450-FREE like freedom. This is Free Talk Live's Live Sunday show.
Would you like to hang out with Penn Jillette? He's keynoting Freedom Fest this year. I, for one, am thrilled. Freedom Fest is the largest liberty-oriented gathering in the world. They take a Big Ten approach with libertarians, conservatives, liberals, anarchists, capitalists, and just open-minded people mingling together to hear real debates, share real solutions, and converse freely. This year's theme is the Wild West, a time of liberty and opportunity, or a time of anarchy and violence. Maybe both. Go to freedomfest.com/FTL and get your tickets now. freedomfest.com/FTL. Not convinced yet? Hey, I understand. It's a high-end event. Even with coupon code FTL50. Sure, you're likely to receive investment advice that'll make that sum seem paltry, but I have something special for you. Go to freedomfest.com/FTL and you'll get the 5 best speeches from last year for free. Call it a test drive. Do yourself a favor and go to freedomfest.com/FTL. freedomfest.com/FTL. Use coupon code FTL50 for a discount.
Free Talk Live.
Hey, it's Free Talk Live. We do a talk show all 7 nights a week, and you're free to join us here. Take control of the airwaves. The toll-free number is 855-450-FREE. That's 855-450-3733. We've got the Discord on-air call-in line rooms over at discord.lrn.fm. You can hop into one of those. You'll sound almost like you're sitting here with us in the studio at discord.lrn.fm. It's a free chat app where listeners are in there basically around the clock. There's different rooms in which you can discuss different topics, everything from cryptocurrency to gaming to New Hampshire, which is where we're located. There's a big libertarian migration that has been moving here for years. So some cool stuff happening here. But we'll talk to you on the radio at 855-450-FREE. We got to get into this story, Richie, that you brought in here tonight. It's Ian, Richie, and Mark in the studio about millennials and apparently their lack of ability to do so much as own a cordless drill.
Or a stepladder.
We'll get into that coming up here, but your calls and thoughts come first. So let's go over to Vermont, where Ron is listening on the TuneIn app. Ron, you're on Free Talk Live. Go ahead.
Hey, how are you?
Hi, Ron. You're on the air.
So, I was wondering, do you guys think that abortion violates the non-aggression principle? In your opinions, why or why not?
Oh, God. I'm going to say no, because I don't think a fetus is a real human being.
I'm going to say yes, because human life starts at conception because it has 36 chromosomes. You're not going to give me no one's going to give me the power to go out and snuff out the lives of people that I don't think are worth having on the planet. So no one else should have that power if I don't have it. However, that being said, I don't think it's a good idea to force people to criminalize it and force people to have children that they don't want.
I'm going to say yes, along with Mark, but the Institute of Justice, not the organization Institute of Justice, but creating a just outcome is way too difficult for it to be made illegal.
There you go, Ron. Thanks for the call. Toll-free number here, 855-450-FREE. That is one issue that you will never get people to agree on.
Yeah, I also think it's not a libertarian issue for just the reason you just heard. It's about when a person believes life begins. And some people don't even believe life really begins until, like a kid's like 6 or something. And, okay, libertarians believe in the protection of life, liberty, and property, but at the same time, you got to determine when life begins.
All right, let's get back into the millennials' life and their apparent lack of any kind of household ability whatsoever.
We'll say DIY skills, because that's the way the article has it.
Where's the story from, by the way? What is the source?
Zero Hedge, I think.
Zero Hedge. All right.
Always good. When it comes to simple tasks like changing tires, unclogging toilets, or resetting a tripped circuit breaker, millennial dads are terrible compared to their own fathers, according to new research.
I can reset a circuit breaker.
My dad is a high bar to have reached. I wouldn't say that I'm as good as I'm not a millennial. I'm a Gen Xer. My father was born in 1930.
Oh, wow.
And 1930.
Yeah.
And that guy
Your real father?
My biological father?
Yeah, because you're adopted.
But I know so little about my biological father.
Okay, I wasn't sure which one you're talking about.
The guy I grew up
Gotcha.
with, my adopted father, was extraordinarily handy.
Yeah.
But, I mean, didn't like to finish tasks. But if it was a small task, he would.
So wait, what was the list? It was changing a tire. And...
Oh, there's a lot. This one was unclogging a toilet, changing a tire, resetting
they can't
a trip
unclog a toilet.
So we'll go through this because there's a poll. But I will say
technically I don't believe that I'm a millennial because I'm sort of on the cusp of it.
Cusper.
You're the Zennial.
I identify as a Gen X.
No.
I identify,
it's an Exial.
I've heard it called Zennials.
It's not.
See?
That would be a Zennial would be somebody who would be a Z, right?
No,
X.
it's with the X.
Like
between
xylophone.
X and between X and millennial.
Call it an Exial because a Zennial then gets one thinking that it's
on
Gen
the other
Z.
side. I see.
There's also Gen Z, right?
Well, call it an xylophone then if you're talking about that.
And you kind of are basically in the millennial camp, but on the older side.
Yeah, so I'm allegedly 37, so I'm on the older side of the millennial cusp.
And so, like we were talking about earlier, these arbitrary divisions are just that. They're completely arbitrary. Obviously, you and I have more in common than a millennial who's 20.
Yeah, it's true.
Or whatever the younger side. I think the younger side of millennials is around 20 right now, right?
Yeah.
Like 97, 98, somewhere in that range is sort of considered the end of
because that's when
millennials.
the millennium hit, right? That's kind of where they got it from. They were born around the turn of the millennium. But yeah, and to Mark's point, like I'm much less handy than both my father and my stepfather.
I'm near useless, but at least I can do some of the things that are on this list with no problem whatsoever.
I am not nearly useless. Just like my dad, my real dad, and my grandfather built race cars. Right, I'm not. That's not going to happen. I'm not doing that.
Okay.
So I have totally no interest in that.
Wow.
But helping out with fixing stuff around the house.
Right.
I'm a great assistant.
Honey, this thing's broken.
I can do it.
Right. Yeah. Or I need this shelf put up or something like that. Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yep.
Well, I mean, I helped build my own house, so I'm in pretty good shape as far as that goes. But honestly, frame carpentry isn't any big deal.
Yeah, I surprised my mom one time by putting stuff together.
Plenty of construction guys drink on the job, so I mean, obviously, it can be done.
Yeah, but they're not cabinet makers,
and they have the skills to do it. Right, that's another one of those things. Like if you can drink and get the job done, by all means, have one. A poll of 1,000 millennial dads and 1,000 baby boomer dads conducted by one poll on behalf of Alarm.com reveals that the younger generation prefers to call in professionals when it comes to a range of DIY tasks ranging from basic plumbing to assembling furniture. So we'll play this little game.
Assembling furniture.
Sure.
I can do that too.
There's somebody you can call to assemble furniture?
It. Yeah. Yeah, they call it the gig economy now, Mark. It's not just like, driving somebody somewhere. I was reading an article about the gig economy, and it showed a guy who was like an assembler who you would, there's some app for that. You get something at IKEA and you bring up the assembler app or whatever it's called. I don't know what it's called, but because I've never used that. I can put furniture together or a chair or whatever.
I have a customer at my regular job whose his real job is a truck driver, but he also sharpens knives on the side. So
that's all. I mean, a knife that's sharpened by a professional is a better job. I don't care where you come from. But they have some really good handheld knife sharpeners that you can get these days.
Yes, but I can't help but
he'll come
laugh.
And do it.
I mean, really? There are people who can't unclog their own toilet? Like, I get it if you put something down there that's a serious problem, but your typical clogged toilet you can usually handle, right? Apparently they can't.
Right, as a plunger.
I've clogged enough where I know how to do it myself.
Right.
I'm just so stunned that there's a person that will come and put together IKEA furniture or something like that. I've just never heard of this before.
Well, it shouldn't be stunning to you. I mean, when I was a younger
I guess
person,
it shouldn't be stunning to me.
When I was younger, and I was working at the electronics department in Kmart, I would frequently make a little bit of money on the side by taking like a VCR or something that an old lady would purchase and installing it for her at her house. You know, I don't want to install this. I don't know how or whatever. For me, it's like, 5 minutes, bing, bang, boom, done. $20 in my hand, and I'm going home.
Well, when I worked in Sarasota, my last job was at a lifestyle magazine in Sarasota. They got a whole bunch of chairs in. Everybody got new chairs in the office, and I stayed late the day that they came in, and I put them all together.
Wow. Okay.
And because, I knew that my boss, being a bit younger, and just one of those guys you can tell, right? He's just not good at that kind of thing.
Yeah.
So I'm like, I'll get this done real quick, and I, spent the evening doing that rather than whatever boring, pointless thing I would do at home. And he always would help me with a computer or take care of the sort of things that blink problems that I have. I don't like dealing with those things. So I did all that, but I'm just like, are you kidding? We could have had somebody, and I policed all the light bulbs in the office. Oh, this light bulb's out, and it's like, what are we going to do about that? I'm going to go to Home Depot, and I'm going to get you another one.
I got to say, this article is making me feel less useless. I'm feeling good now.
I used to be the electronics guy with home stereos and that sort of thing, disassembling them and then putting them back together for clients as well. That was my area.
We got more on the way here. Our number is 855-450-FREE. That's 855-450-3733. More details on millennials and putting stuff together or not. It's Free Talk Live. Hey, it is Free Talk Live. You dial on in here toll free and bring up whatever you want. Our number is 855-450-FREE. That's 855-450-3733. We have the Discord on-air call-in line rooms over at discord.lrn.fm. Just jump into any one of those. We'll get you on the air, and you can talk about whatever is on your mind. That's discord.lrn.fm. Mark, tell me about the mortgage business.
Yeah, right. American Financing is sponsoring Free Talk Live these days, and I love American Financing. Compared to the other mortgage companies, they are they're pretty awesome. Family owned and have been for a long time. They've got an A+ rating with the Better Business Bureau, and that's hard to find these days.
Now, they help you find a mortgage, right? They don't actually give you the mortgage.
Well, that's what a broker does.
Right.
And their brokers are salaried as opposed to commissioned, so they're not out there looking for the loan that will benefit them the most. They're out there looking for the loan that will benefit you the most. They don't charge upfront fees like some lenders do, and they offer pretty much every loan in the industry, so FHA, VA, conventional, ARMS, jumbo, USDA, whatever it is that you need, evening and weekend hours to meet your schedule. Takes 10 minutes to get started in a telephone, or you can do their digital mortgage, where you can apply, receive your pre-qualification, and close your loan doing everything online with American Financing's digital mortgage. It's the complete mortgage process on your schedule, anytime, anywhere. You can apply online and meet the pre-qualification letter instantly, and you can start shopping tomorrow. It's AmericanFinancing.net. I've got to give you their NMLS number, the 182334. And it's the www.mlsconsumeraccess.org, AmericanFinancing.net, and you can give them a call at 888-804-0303, 888-804-0303, AmericanFinancing.net. If you're looking to get a mortgage or looking for a home, because nobody's looking for a mortgage, but he's looking for a home. They do refis. I guess you'd be looking for a mortgage at that point. Then you really should get a second opinion at the very least. AmericanFinancing.net, 888-804-0303.
So, Richie, you've been sharing with us the story about millennials, comparing them to previous generations. Specifically, in this case, they talked to baby boomers.
Baby boomers, yes.
And specifically, you're talking about men, for whatever reason, right?
Well, stereotypically dads are the ones who do the housework, the repairs and whatnot around the house.
Maybe so. But it would be interesting to hear the women on this one as well, because we got Vaginitarian in our chat room says she's a millennial and she does home repair. So not everybody sticks to the stereotypes.
Absolutely not. I wouldn't make that the claim that they do, but it is fun. It's fun for the older generation of guys to look on the younger generation of guys and say, ha, what a bunch of incompetent boobs. And I'm sure it's been done all along,
Yeah.
Yep. Fix my iPad.
So where are we at here with this story?
I can't turn this iPad on.
Yes.
Right.
I want to go through some of the questionnaire questions with you guys because I think it'd be fun.
I used this iPad for 2 days and it worked fine and then it just stopped working. Did you plug it in, Dad? What do you mean?
No, wait a minute. Did you tell us before what the percentages were generally as far as the results? Did that come already, or does that come after the questions?
I can go question by question because there's certain results. The results are in the questionnaire, and then there's more.
But overall, was there like an overall? Breakdown?
Overall, the baby boomer generation is more handy around the house. I mean, that was
by what does it show you by what percentage as far as was it 70% for the baby boomer dads versus 30%? I want
to say 15 to 20% more based on the numbers.
So pretty big discrepancy.
Pretty big discrepancy on these categories, and then there's more. So here we go. Can you change a car wheel at the side of the road?
A tire or a wheel?
It says car wheel, but change it. The wheel is going to be attached to the tire.
Okay.
Ian has just revealed that he knows F all about car tires. Okay.
So that's a no for Ian.
To change a tire, mister, you would need a big, complicated, dangerous device.
Right.
To change a wheel, you need a lug wrench and a jack.
Yeah.
Okay, the wheel is the metal thing.
I know what a wheel is. That's why I asked, dummy.
Okay, nobody changes a tire on the side of the road. Although they will call it changing a tire.
They say that they do.
Right.
Yeah. I know what the difference is, Mark, even though I don't know much about cars.
Did you even had to ask? Makes you look bad.
Can you do it?
No.
Nobody can change a tire on the side of the road.
Well, the question says wheel.
Of course I can change a wheel.
Okay, all right.
If Ian gets a flat tire and I'm in there, God knows who's going to be out there changing the tire.
Okay.
Hold the wrench, Ian.
63% millennial, 79% boomer.
Okay.
Answer that question. Reset a tripped circuit breaker.
Yes, of course.
Yes, of course.
54% millennial, 85% boomer.
Wow.
That's incompetence.
Flip a damn switch.
You got to know where the switch is. And
it's the one that's off.
Yeah. You can tell who's
find
renting.
the circuit breaker box in your place?
You can tell who's renting and tell who's living at the parents' house.
Yeah, true.
Who sits there in the dark waiting for the landlord to come over and trip the switch?
Sometimes you just don't know.
Yeah. Maybe they're living in cities where a superintendent will take care of it.
Could be. Yeah, you don't have access to in that case.
The place that I was renting in Hawaii, the main circuit breaker was in the main part of the house. I did not have access to it.
Yeah.
So if that did come up, there were certain things
You'd
that I could
call.
I would have to go knock on the landlord's door and have them do that. But
ring, ring.
But knowing that I could do it is different. Jumpstart a dead car battery.
I can do that.
Good for you, buddy.
And have done it.
Yeah.
All right, 63%
millennial.
millennial.
Had to start a truck I had a truck that you almost had to start that way.
Really?
So
I even have jumper cables too, so I can help people when they need it.
Every vehicle.
Side story, real quick, on how handy my grandfather was. He used to hotwire his car every morning.
Wow!
Because the ignition thing broke. That
I cannot do.
So he rigged up a switch.
It a Ford?
Honda.
Can you even do that these days with the newer cars? Is it?
No.
It's not like in the movies where they pop the the steering wheel column
I don't think they
open.
steal cars anymore, do they?
I don't. Well, they must.
Yeah, I'm sure they do.
Probably just because somebody leaves a key in it or something like that.
But he had a switch rigged up in the passenger foot panel of the car that you had to turn the switch down below.
So you had to know what
you had to know, and then he had alligator clips bolted to the dashboard that you had to spark on the dash to start the car.
Wow,
so very handy on that. So jumpstart a car, dead car battery, 63 millennial, 86 boomer. Unblock a toilet or sink.
Yeah,
all the time.
Yes.
Okay.
Well, not anymore. I finally got a really good toilet to where I don't have to anymore. But I actually feel bad. If I'm ever in a hotel and I clog the toilet up, they don't have a plunger there, so I can't do the job.
You have to call.
I feel bad if I have to call somebody about
the little old maid service lady.
I'm actually pretty good at it. I don't mind, dirty jobs like that. Doesn't bother me at all.
Wash your hands when you're done.
Yep.
Yeah. 65% millennial, 86.
65% millennials could unclog a toilet?
Yeah.
Okay.
And 86 boomer generation. Restart a stopped furnace.
Yeah. Well, I mean, there are some things that can get complicated there, but generally, yes.
I guess I
can't go in and like, tool around inside the engine or something like that, but flipping the power, that's no big deal.
I have a furnace right now. It's never gone out. I have only had it for a short period of time this one winter. I've never had to do that because prior to this I was heating my previous house up here with wood. So I don't know how to do that. I have somebody I can call and get on the phone with, and they would walk me through it.
This is the closest one. 38% millennial, 44% baby boomer.
Are there more?
There's one more.
All right, more coming up here. Your calls and thoughts also welcome. Our toll-free number here is 855-450-FREE like freedom. You can take control of the airwaves on Free Talk Live.
Looking for a great real estate investment? Consider New Hampshire, which is ground zero for the Liberty Movement. Your first call should be to Mark Worden from Porcupine Real Estate. He's more than just a real estate agent. He's your New Hampshire concierge. Where are the best places to live? Do you want farm, city, the burbs, or forest? Do you want a duplex or multifamily building so that renters pay your mortgage? There are homes in all price ranges in New Hampshire, and Mark can help with financing too. Invest in liberty and property. Mark Worden can help.
PorcupineRealEstate.com.
Free Talk Live and the Live Sunday edition. We will take your calls and thoughts about what you want to discuss. It doesn't have to be the difference between millennial dads at home versus baby boomer dads and their lack of ability in a lot of cases to do some of the most basic household upkeep tasks. With you tonight, it's Ian here.
Richie Rich.
And Mark.
I want to tell you about the Edge wallet. It is the wallet that I use more often than any other for cryptocurrency. It is an excellent one, and I used it long before as my primary wallet. I used it long before they became a sponsor here on Free Talk Live. In fact, that's part of the reason why they're sponsors here, because we're big fans of Edge wallet here on Free Talk Live. I just used mine tonight to pay for my meal at the Libertarian social meeting that we have every Sunday here in Keene at Local Burger. Anyway, you can buy, sell, trade, and securely hold your cryptocurrencies in Edge Wallet. And it's your money, so you're in control. In fact, you're so in control, Edge Wallet can't recover your password for you. So you got to take it really seriously.
Well, they can if you set it up to do that.
Have you done that yet?
Yeah.
And what is that process like? I've never done that.
It's not that hard. I mean, it's just you just let them secure your username and password.
Really? Yeah. Oh, okay. I didn't know that.
It's my understanding.
They're holding it, because I thought that they didn't.
I think they can recover it in some way.
Okay. Yeah, you'll have to learn more about how that works.
I guess.
Mark, because I don't know how that works. But anyway, generally with cryptocurrency wallets, you got to take your security very seriously.
You should anyway.
Yeah.
It supports a bunch of different cryptocurrencies: Bitcoin Cash, Ethereum, tokens on the Ethereum platform, Monero, Ripple, the original Bitcoin, of course, Stellar, and more. You can go to edge.app to learn more about the app. You can also download it from your iOS or Android app stores. Secure your freedom with Edge Wallet. Edge.app is their website. And maybe I should try this recovery process. That way I can actually, speak about it, because I don't know if that's a newer feature that they have there, but they're really easy to use wallet. It's super easy to get into. It's username and password based rather than a more complicated backup situation that some of the other wallets have. So check it out at edge.app as we continue here. So I think you said there was one more question left on the quiz, Richie?
Yeah, and then some more statistics if you want to get into it.
Yeah, please. Let's hear the differences between the millennial dads and the baby boomer dads.
So I imagine the Generation X dads are probably somewhere in the middle of these two statistical,
I suspect you're right, yeah.
Bubbles.
Open a stuck pickle jar using only your hands.
Okay, so this is one that's been around for a little while.
This is the reason why men exist, right?
Well, no. Well, look, men's grips are decreasing over time because there's fewer and fewer of them that do physical labor.
I see.
And
but generally men have greater upper body strength than women.
Sure. But there are, I mean, if the only reason to have a man around is to open a jar now and then, ladies, get one of those little rubber grippy things, and you'll be fine.
Awesome.
They give you a far less flack. They don't drink as much, and they won't hit you. It won't hit you.
Yeah, there's another one. Another secret to it is you can run it under warm water or hot water, and that loosens it. It makes it
easier,
more pliable.
give it a little beating on the top. You don't want to dent it or anything, but just kind of pound on it a little bit, and it releases the seal.
Is that right?
And you can move it. But my favorite was when Renee, who is Ian's ex, needed a jar open. She'd walk into the studio, hand it to me right in front of Ian. I'd pop it open and hand it back to her.
So Mark is a yes. Along with 59% millennials and 81% boomers. Can open
I don't have trouble opening jars.
So every once in a while, my wife will have trouble with a jar. And if she has trouble with the jar, I'm going to have trouble with that same jar. She's already tried something. She's gotten it wet because she had a wet hand on it. I'm going to have to dry it off. It's not going to be a quick, open. If she's had trouble with it, I know that, it's not going to be the easiest jar in the world. So I'll have to get out something. But at the very least, it's my job.
There's more pressure on you to get it done, too.
It's true.
Right.
It doesn't feel good to be handed a jar and you can't open it. Yeah. It's got to feel worse to have your girlfriend hand it to some other guy.
When brute force doesn't work, try brute force. Millennial dads are less likely to own ordinary house tools that older dads would consider essential. 48% of millennial dads say they don't own a ladder. 46% don't own a cordless drill. 38% don't own a set of screwdrivers. And 32% don't own a hammer.
Wow.
What do you need a hammer for?
Two
when you
hammers.
Just go to rock from the yard.
I had two hammers and I lost them. I don't know if it's because I loaned them out or what happened to them.
That's what happens to tools.
I was looking for one recently.
Well, I've got so many hammers at my house, I could probably bring you one.
One of them's probably mine.
Yeah, I'm sure that's what it is. I needed a hammer so badly, I took one of yours
and never returned it.
I don't know. I think Rich might have. I think Rich might have bought or borrowed one of them because I asked, and he said he had one next door.
All right. Here's where it gets into the millennial defense. Millennials, in their defense, say that modern technology, such as smart locks and doorbell cameras, require more expertise than installing their old-school equivalent. High-tech upgrades like smart home technology require professional support, especially safety and security upgrades.
But none of that has to do with flipping a breaker or unclogging a toilet.
That's true.
They don't have a third of them don't have a screwdriver set.
Yeah.
I don't even understand this. I have a screwdriver set and I have a tool set on every floor of my house.
Yeah.
Just so that I don't have to go downstairs into
I've got
the basement.
a screwdriver in here because I use it often enough.
Right.
It's one of those ones with the switchy bits in it.
Yeah, that's great. It's nice and convenient. Yeah. You don't have to walk all the way to the tool shed or wherever you keep them in order to get your stuff, and then you don't have to bring it back when you're done. It's got a
I got a drawer
right
of tools in the next room, and then more tools in the back.
Yeah,
it's good to have a little bit, at least little home repair toolkit somewhere. So here's where the boomers and the millennials agree. 79% of millennials, 74% of boomers say that the definition of a handy dad has changed over the years. According to Alarm.com, 2/3 of boomer dads admitted that millennial dads may have the edge when it comes to tech tasks around the home.
I question that.
Really?
I don't know, man. Maybe it's just the Zs, the Generation Zs or something like that, but a lot of these young people, they don't know a whole lot about technology. Like, they might be able to use their iPad or whatever, and might be able to get on Wi-Fi or something like that, but you get into some of the technical, side of repairing computers, they can't do it.
This is dads, so you're talking about somebody who's probably over the age of 25, maybe even over the age of 35 as a millennial here.
At that point, you're starting to get out of the millennial range if you're getting over 35.
Fine. I would trust them to do many of the tasks, like setting the smart thermostat and things like that, if that's what we're talking about, that they might be better off at that. Okay.
Having the professional come in and install the smart thermostat first and knowing what button combination to push.
We had this...
My millennial tenants have had me program their thermostat.
But they're not dads. And something happens when you're a dad.
I don't know why that makes a difference, but okay, fine. Go ahead.
Something happens when you're a dad. Okay. You then become responsible for something new.
You have to teach that tiny human how to follow in your footsteps.
Well, when my wife got pregnant, my world changed, and you're not going to understand that until that happens to you.
Not happening.
Well,
I have a vasectomy.
Could happen to you.
No,
you could get into a relationship, and you guys could choose to adopt.
Stepdad.
And... What's that?
Stepdad.
Now, Ian's not qualified to raise any human beings.
Well, he could get into a relationship with someone who's already birthed a child.
That's possible, yeah.
All right.
Not likely.
While quick to master new tools like apps and mobile technology, this is the interesting part. Today's time-pressed dads are also faster to outsource time-consuming home maintenance to professionals who have the tools and training to get the job done right.
And quickly.
No doubt. I don't want to learn, obviously I can do the basic stuff, most of it that was mentioned in this article, but as far as put a new window in or, any kind of actual home repair task, it's I'm not stupid. I could learn how to do things. I just don't want to spend the time to do it.
I think that's a big part of it, right? Even I work at a restaurant and I think, I don't cook a lot at home, but my parents did, right?
Mm-hmm.
There were home meals all the time. And I talked to my mom about it and it was like, does it seem like, my generation or even the current next generation, whatever you want to call that, doesn't take the time to, cook a meal at home? And it just seems like we eat out more often than our parents did or, that generation. And part of it is because, it's cheap enough to eat out as it would be to compile a whole meal in some situations.
Not generally. It's never cheaper, almost never cheaper to eat out. But
depends where you go and what you get.
Regarding Ian's declaration that I'm not stupid, I have the greatest home repair story home repair story that I did that really does make me look quite stupid. You got to hear it in the next segment.
Okay, 855-450 free. It's Free Talk Live. It's Free Talk Live. Dial toll free. Even in these remaining moments, we may have enough time for you if you call now. Our number is 855-450 free like freedom. That's 855-450-3733. Earlier this week, Bitcoin.com launched their brand new website, local.bitcoin.com, which allows you to trade Bitcoin Cash. You can buy Bitcoin Cash or sell it to people who might want to buy it from you. And you can do it with, I counted it today, close to 3 dozen different payment methods. Now, not all of them are going to be, right for you or based in the U.S., but there's dozens of payment methods there. Everything from PayPal to Venmo to bank deposits to remittances or just meeting somebody in person with cash and selling or buying Bitcoin Cash from and to them. Also, one of the key differences between local.bitcoin.com and those other sites that allow you to buy and sell cryptocurrency is there's no know your customer requirements. There's no invasive identification requirements when you sign up for the site. The site does not care who you are because they don't hold your funds at any point. And they also are cryptographically secure as far as their encrypted communications between buyer and seller. So when you're talking to somebody from whom you're buying or with whom you're selling, the site itself cannot read that conversation, which means that if somebody subpoenas the site to try to read your conversations, they can't because it's encrypted. So check them out over at local.bitcoin.com. They got low fees, and it's open, of course, 24/7. It's a global marketplace for buying and selling Bitcoin Cash at local.bitcoin.com. Richie, you're sharing with us a story from, what was it?
Zero Hedge.
Zero Hedge.
Yep.
And it's about the differences between baby boomer dads and millennial dads.
And their do-it-yourself skills.
Well, I was going to tell a story, about, looking stupid. So I had this this convertible. It was a Toyota Celica. And
we back in Florida? This is up here, right? You had the Celica up here, didn't you?
Briefly.
Yeah.
This occurred in Florida in my friend's driveway.
Okay.
The top, when I got the car, was, a little less than nice. It was a convertible, as I had previously said, sorry. But it would have been nice and easy to repair if we could have just somehow...
Is this the one that the druggie cut open in downtown?
That was the BMW.
Okay, sorry. That's an old story you've told before.
Yeah, I always leave my doors unlocked to convertibles because anybody can find a knife. There's no point in locking a door on a convertible. Mm-hmm. But apparently that didn't work because some stupid a-hole who wanted the change in my ashtray decided to cut the top before pulling on the door handle. Anyway.
Oh, man.
Way to be inconspicuous.
Yeah. So anyway, this top needed some kind of way to be attached to the glass. It had kind of come unglued, and I thought, well, rather than trying to find the right glue and making this work, what if we just riveted this thing down? Kind of, put a little hole, just get a glass drill bit and go through this tempered glass, and just put a couple of holes in here. We'll put it in, and put some glue in, and it'll hold it in real nice, and everything will be fine.
Cordless drill bit driver, I'd assume as well.
Yeah, it was cordless. And, my good friend Julian, he and I were there, and he's like, well, it's worth a try, right?
Sure.
Because basically the people at the convertible place, they wanted me to get a whole new thing with a new glass. You couldn't just buy new glass or whatever. And we could have tried repairing it with glue, but then again, we didn't know much about glue, so we were going to try it with this. So we got the little drill bit from Home Depot, and we began making the drill hole, and then looking at each other, hey, this is kind of working. It's kind of working. It's drilling a little bit into the glass, and then poof.
The entire glass shatters.
There it goes, and it falls into little pieces.
That's tempered glass, right?
Right. Right into the car, and yeah, we really felt bad on that one.
So what'd you end up doing then?
Vacuuming it out with a wet dry vac.
Yeah.
And then buying a new top, which is probably what was going to ultimately
happen. Did you have
happen
something to
anyway.
replace the glass as well?
Well,
or no, that's part of the top.
That's part of the top.
Built into the top.
That was already a problem,
right.
So the loss wasn't that great.
I gotcha. Just a mess.
Yeah, it was a mess.
Yeah. All right. So was there more of the wrap-up?
Not much of the wrap-up. The wrap-up was basically just that they outsource their home maintenance to professionals who have the tools, and that allows them more time to spend with the people that they love in their lives. So
there's nothing wrong with that.
No.
There's nothing wrong with that. But my God, calling somebody in to plunge the toilet. I mean,
I guess it's
really?
the super, right?
Well, if they're renting, yeah. I mean, if you're the millennial homeowner dad,
man, I want that sucker done then. I don't want to be waiting around.
I don't want to bring somebody in and show them the results of what it was that caused the whole thing to jam up in the first place. Yeah. That's embarrassing.
But economically, the division of labor here in the millennials, right, quite strong because they just hire people who know what they're doing and hire the experts. And
bring me a Jay Noon if I need some real homework done or whatever. He can get it. He can get her done.
There you go, and which allows you to ply your trade,
right,
and earn the money to pay him. In areas
otherwise, I got to learn stuff that I don't want to learn that I'll never have to use again, right? Unless I go into that trade.
Yeah, if you have the if you're destroying time in your business in order to do some home repair task or whatever, then yeah, I get it. But if you don't have that,
a breaker,
if you're at home and it's Saturday and you're choosing whether or not to sleep in, watch the game, go fishing, or do this home repair task, recreation has its value. However, my wife isn't going to see it that way. She's going to be like, "You're not doing anything today. Get your butt to work. I have a list of things that need to be done."
Let's go to
honeydew list.
The honeydew list.
The phones and the fun. Dave's in New Mexico. You're on Free Talk Live, listening via the TuneIn app. Go ahead, Dave.
Yeah, you had the perfect word choice earlier, Ian. You said, "Let's go to Dan," and then more on millennials.
Okay.
More on millennials.
More on
gotcha.
millennials.
Okay.
Yeah. And Ian, you forgot the scenario. It's kind of like the Mark's or your girlfriend coming in and having Mark open your jar. Your girlfriend could get knocked up by some other guy.
It could.
Yeah, that could happen, but it wouldn't be mine. You're talking about whether or not I can have, or whether or not I would have children. If a girlfriend of mine got knocked up, that's pretty much evidence she's with some other guy.
Yeah, well, unfortunately, with the laws in your country in most states, if you happen to have gotten married, if she, for instance, somehow convinced you to actually get legally married, that
also
child
unlikely.
By some other guy would be your child legally.
Yet
That's
another
unfortunately
reason.
true.
Yet another reason to not get state married.
Yep.
Yeah, and Mark, roadside changing a tire roadside. I can change a tire onto a wheel roadside.
Really?
On a bicycle?
You know how to do that? Pardon?
On a bicycle?
No, an automotive tire.
Go for it. I'd like to know.
I've seen there's tricks for rocking the rim and doing a few things to making it happen, but I think it'd be a long process. Go ahead.
No, well, you can learn it on YouTube. It's the same as a bicycle tire, just a little bit more force, but it's the same exact technique. But you can do it, and people do it all the time. So you can do that
with a couple crowbars or big screwdrivers or something to wedge it on there.
Yeah, a couple about the size of a 1-inch wrench, an inch and an eighth wrench. A couple of those will do the trick. And
when was the last time that ever was necessary roadside?
Yeah, right. But it could be done.
If you're driving through, here's a real life one.
Okay.
If you're driving through the middle of nowhere, Like Wyoming, for instance, this happened to me, and I was pulling a trailer. So you got the two axles on your vehicle, and then you got two axles on your trailer, which gives you way more opportunities to blow tires.
Yep.
Okay.
And I was already thinking ahead. I was already carrying two spares for my trailer, and I ended up blowing out two tires within, one right after the other one. So I had no more spares, and you could be in a situation where there are tires everywhere, but there might not be a mechanic for 100 miles with a machine to swap the tire out. So you could be in a position where, and I have been, where you could go get you could find a tire, somebody would sell you a tire, but you had to get it off of their wheel and put it on your wheel without a machine. So there's a real life example. Or if
would they not sell you the wheel along with it, or would they offer a trade for the wheel that you currently have on?
Maybe why would they want to sell you if they got a nice set of rims and you just need a tire? Why are they going to sell you one of their $200 rims and then they only have 3 of the same rim left? So, and then the other thing too is that people that live, farmers or ranchers or whatever, if they live in the middle of nowhere and it's 35 miles each way to town, but it takes them 15 minutes to manually take one tire off of a rim and manually put the other one back on, which way is more cost effective on their time? Doing it themselves at home by hand. So
good call, Dave. Thanks for sharing your thoughts tonight, as always. And don't forget to check more Richie on his show, The Anarchist Experience.
AnarchistExperience.com.
Once a week, it's a podcast. You can check him out anytime you want. There's archives, of course, at AnarchistExperience.com. And we'll see you tomorrow night. And between now and then, you can join us online over at freetalklive.com. Please don't forget to amp the show as well at ampamp.freetalklive.com. See you then.
All right, it's another edition of the Edgington Post Show. Mark Edge coming to you for Free Talk Live. And today I have with me author and activist Peter de Krassel. Are you with me, Peter?
I'm with you all the way there, Mark.
You sound great. You're coming from far across the sea today, right?
A long, long China and Pacific Sea from Hong Kong.
So today we're supposed to be talking about solutions that you have come up with for the problems in Korea. The teasers I read just sounded so outlandish that I had to talk to you. You lay it on me, would you?
Sure, absolutely. I mean, if you look at all the solutions proposed or tried to date, none of them work. And there's one fundamental reason why they don't work. And that reason is China. Without China's support, Kim Jong-un and Korea would not survive.
Right.
Because without China's support, Russia backs down, as do a lot of other states. My proposals are that China has to change its mindset about having been on the North Korean side fighting the South Koreans and Americans and the rest of the UN forces, and that it has to continue propping up Kim Jong-un and the Kim dynasty in North Korea. My proposal is China. No one has more to lose than you. When the top blew off their nuclear testing reactor a couple of years ago, where did the nuclear fallout go? China. China panicked. If there's going to be a war there, where's most of the nuclear fallout going to be? China. So China, get real for a couple reasons. Number one, any tests that go haywire has already proven you're going to get the fallout. Kim Jong-un is somebody that nobody can trust, including you, because the Chinese had a fallout with him for, ever since he's come to power. So just tell the guy, listen, we're going to cut all support unless you do one of the following. You can become the new ruler emperor of a united Korea, a la the royal family in Great Britain. Currently the Queen, the Windsors, they've been there forever, and there's other models like that. The alternative is you can take the loot and scoot and you can go to China, go anywhere else and retire in a nice lifestyle something the Chinese and the Americans have done with many other leaders in the past. You know, whether it's Marcos in the Philippines, all the Haitian leaders, you can go, you know, African leaders. Or the third option is if you don't take any of the above, you're taken out.
So you'd want China to give them this ultimatum, right?
Absolutely. Okay. Absolutely. Because China has agreed with the U.S. that, okay, Chinese troops can move to the border at the DMZ, and they can be there with the U.S. troops, the South Korean troops. And you know what? With today's technology and aircraft carriers and missiles, there's nothing wrong if the U.S. troops even say, okay, we'll be here for a limited number of years, and then we'll just go, you know, to Guam or the aircraft carriers or whatever. But the economic solution is the key that everyone's missing. I just focused on the political. The economic is, if you look at any of the other two examples, which are the only examples of two countries divided and reunited. One is Vietnam, the other is Germany. Vietnam reunited because of a war that the North imposed its will on the South. That ain't going to work in Korea, because if a war happens, who knows who's going to rule who. Germany, the model was West Germany basically financed East Germany, and it almost broke Germany, but they survived. And I'm saying, forget that model. We come up with a new model. We create 4 economic zones in North Korea that are modeled after China's economic zone in Shenzhen, where a fishing village bordering Hong Kong turns into 70 million population city that is one of the biggest economic multi-billion-dollar machines in the Chinese economy. The same can happen with North Korea. So we can take Trump's vision of look at all the development and everything, the beaches, the resorts, the hotels. Who's going to pay for it? Very simple answer. You create an economic zone on the border with Korea, south and north. The Koreans finance it. You do the same in China. The Chinese finance it. You do the same in Russia, on the Russian borders. The Russians finance it. You do the same on the coast towards Japan. Japanese finance it. In addition to that, the American capitalist bankers and the rest of the EU finance whatever shortfalls, if any, there are. So all of a sudden you have a booming economy. You've got a united country. The alternative is North Korea wants to be a sovereign state with nuclear weapons, sitting between China and South Korea. You know what? That's not going to work. And the longer it takes, the more weapons they develop, and the bigger and nastier the war is going to be when that takes place. So it's got to be solved now. And basic question is, what is the solution? And that's what I just laid out. It's simple, but China's got to take the lead. And yes, there's going to be trade-offs with the U.S. on the trade war, Taiwan, whatever. But deals can be made, and that will solve the problem. The U.S. trying to go it alone with North Korea is not going to work.
Let me see if I can get all this straight. I just get the regular news that everybody else gets. I'm interested in the area, and I think it's the Kim Jong-un fella. He's fascinating. What you're saying is basically when Trump goes in to negotiate with Kim Jong-un, he might as well be negotiating with the mayor of Toronto. Like, he's not the guy. That it's China that really is the main player here. What about Trump's trade war with China? Is that making things worse then?
Yeah, but that could be a negotiating point.
Okay.
To answer your question, yes, of course, with the trade war and that, but the negotiating lever for the trade war can be North Korea. I mean, he's a negotiator, the art of the deal. So you want to cut a deal that maybe you give a little more to China than you want to? Well, make sure in exchange they give you North Korea and what you want. So it's a negotiation, but what you're asking China to give up is actually in their best interest. Do they really want a nuclear power that every time something goes wrong, the nuclear fallout is in China? And do they want to keep getting all these North Korean refugees coming over? Create a positive economy and political environment. All the North Koreans in China that immigrated illegally will go back to North Korea. So it becomes a quadruple win for the Chinese. And it's, maybe they're negotiating that behind the scenes, but I doubt it, because just by looking at China's behavior, you can tell no one's even discussed that concept with them.
So the idea is to create 4 special economic zones out of North Korea, and then leave South Korea basically alone, and come up with some way to handle the Kims. But they're really
you unite North and South Korea. They become one.
Okay.
And one of the economic zones borders the North and South. And Kim Jong-un becomes, either he's there with some title like the monarchy in Britain or Thailand or any of the other places where some family retains a title. Right. And they get tax breaks and whatever. But meantime, the real political power, like in the UK's in the parliament and the prime minister, and you look at the South Korea's democratic model, basically becoming the political model there, a la Britain, with the Kim family like the Windsor family. And then, yes, the one economic zone is North-South Korea. The second one is Russia. The third one is China. The fourth one is Japan, to come back to your original question. And then the U.S. and other banks finance whatever shortfalls there are in any of them.
It actually sounds like a plan that would work, and not that I know everything about the region or anything like that. But it's not cockamamie. It sounds like a workable plan, and it would be something that would be beneficial to China. Not to say that I know what's motivating the Chinese or anything like that, but I know that they've had problems with the Kims in the past. So
correct.
I'm gonna have to give you the nod on this one. I wasn't prepared to, but I think the best I can tell is that you've got a workable solution. There may be other workable solutions, but this one sounds pretty good, Peter.
Thank you, Mark. Yeah, no, absolutely, and that's why I appreciate you saying what you're saying, because everyone has forgotten to look at it from the China perspective, and everyone just assumes China, is this big bad, literally bull in a china shop. But that's not the case, because you hit it on the head. They have not gotten along with the Kim family for a while. So, and he hasn't done them any favors by his behavior. So, come on, work a negotiable or negotiate a deal that is negotiable with Trump, that gives the Chinese and Americans what they want on the trade side, but at the same time, guess what the compromise chip on the table is. It's North Korea with a solution that works for both.
Peter, let's let folks get a little more insight into this genius of yours. Where can people find your books and that sort of thing?
Well, they're on my website, which is Custom Made, CUSTOM, and then another M for made, but spelled MAID, books.com. That's custommadebooks.com, made spelled MAID.
Right, like the person who cleans your house.
Right, but at the same time, they are available on Amazon and iBooks and other locations, too.
And your full name, Peter de Krassel?
De Krassel, correct.
Awesome. Peter, thank you for your time.
Small D-E space capital K-R-A-S-S-E-L. Small D-E space capital K-R-A-S-S-E-L. De Krassel.
Thanks for your time, Peter.
Thanks for your time, Mark. Appreciate it anytime.
So the protection of life, liberty, and property is what the Free State Project is all about. But it's an effort to move 20,000 people who understand.
It's about demonstrating to the entire country
that, yeah, we can have a free market, a truly free market.
Making it just a freer, great place to live.
It's the world's largest voluntarist libertarian community, and it's only getting bigger.
That's amazing, to be able to move to a place where other people passionately believe in being free and independent.
What the Free State Project is managing to do, though, is to put their money where their mouth is. Physically getting up across the country and saying, let's go someplace and let's demonstrate the power of these ideas. There's a lot of kind of philosophy that surrounds liberty. There's a lot of thinking about it and talking about it. But here in New Hampshire, people are doing it.
101 Reasons Liberty Lives in New Hampshire, a documentary by Free State Project Early Movers. Watch it free at 101reasonsfilm.com. 101reasonsfilm.com.